Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 80 of FPL BlackBox. My name is Az, and Mark is back behind the wheel. What can possibly go wrong?
Bang on time. Look at that. What efficiency. Bang on the 9 o'clock. Pleased how it's gone so far, but we'll see if we go down within the matter of minutes. But no, I think we'll be all right. My internet connection's okay. So, yeah, I'm happy to be in the chair once again, Az.
Yeah, you're that perfect blend, aren't you? Of you want to control everything, but you've also got that anxiety when you're actually doing it. It's the perfect combo, perfect blend.
Absolutely. It calls for a stress-free half hour before we go live, doesn't it? Every time.
Every week,
to be fair,
week,
I think I've been all right this time. It was all came together. It was all fine.
Yeah. A mini meltdown. A very mini one this time. Yeah, it's been good.
Talking of meltdowns, my team, eh? What about tonight? It's all about my team, isn't it? It's all about, I love it. It's all about me. And why is it all about me? Look at those ranks.
It's pretty bad, isn't it? I mean, I'm half your rank though, which is any other season I'd be delighted with that, but it's not great, is it?
No, not is it? I mean, I think I am officially the lowest ranked content creator in the community, right? Am I? I think I might be. I don't know, but there's a theory, isn't there? Like we get more people watching, the worse I'm doing. Basically,
we've got 800 in already, so. Definitely that theory checks out.
Yeah, there you go. So the worse I do, the better it is for the show, which in more ways than one. Yeah, so tonight we are going to be talking about my wildcard, about my thinking behind it, why I played it, some of the theories about what the players I've got rid of, the players I've got in. But we'll be doing the regular data check as well. 3 game weeks, not a lot of data to go on, and we'll caveat that when we start. But first as a word from our sponsor, I believe.
We need some fancy theme music when we go.
We do, don't we?
This episode is sponsored by NordVPN. We've already done a couple of plugs for them in other episodes. If you don't know what NordVPN is, it's the leading VPN service and malware blocker. It's the fastest VPN on the market. It's the best rated VPN on the market. As well as the VPN, you've also got the ability to generate and store passwords to protect your files on the encrypted cloud. And like you found, Mark, bypass region blocks.
No, absolutely. And what have I been watching with that region block bypass? I've been watching Columbo, classic Columbo, my favourite detective series. And you can't get it all on iTunes. You can only get series 1 and 2. So what I've been able to do is go over to Peacock. They've got it all, every series on there. It's been blissful.
I love it. You've got 5,000 plus servers across 59 different countries and using it to watch Columbo. But yeah, you can watch US Netflix, Japanese anime stuff, kind of whatever stuff you want. Another thing is obviously with the privacy as well. Privacy is a big thing in the FPL community, especially if you're using public Wi-Fi. You don't know who's snooping on you. Hackers can take advantage. They can get all your passwords, your bank details, even your home address, all stuff like that. So you connect to a VPN and that can protect you on that kind of stuff. There's 3 plans. You've got the standard, the plus, which is the regular VPN and the password manager, and complete, which is VPN, password, and a terabyte of encrypted storage. You get 4 months for free if you use our code. And it starts at just £2.40 a month. So just go to nordvpn.com/scout.
There you go. A lot of Columbo fans in the chat, which is great. It's absolutely great to see. It's nice to know there are some fellow Columbo fans out there, and it's not just fancy football obsession that I share with people out there. It's really good.
Never watched Columbo.
What?
Don't even know what it's about.
Oh my God. Well, we have to change. Me and my mates have Columbo nights where we come round and we watch our favourite episodes. Is that going too far? I've got the t-shirt, I've got mugs. There you go.
Wow.
A little bit more about my life. There you go.
Nothing on your backdrop.
No, maybe I should get something in. Yeah. There you go. Right. Over to fancy football. It's a big week for me. I'm kind of like in panic mode, perhaps playing the wild card. What was your reaction when you'd heard I played the wild card? What was your thoughts?
My first thought was, he's just doing this to get Salah in. That's a real shame. That was kind of what my first thought was. I was like, okay, you're going to have to kind of, another goal for him. Not a massive haul, but obviously with Son not performing and stuff, I kind of thought you're going to have to make that move. And I was happy when that might not be the case. To give a little bit of a spoiler. No, that's not what.
No. I don't think I am going to go Salah. And we'll talk a bit about Salah later on. I mean, it's very, very difficult, the Salah situation, because Liverpool aren't playing well. Salah isn't playing well. We've only got 3 weeks of data and 3 weeks of eye test to go on. And of course, Salah is an absolute legend. So, it's against our better nature to go against him. But I started the season thinking, I think he might regress a little with Darwin in the team. And I expected Liverpool to change their system. I think I've seen some evidence of that with Salah spending a lot of time out wide. The early data suggests it. We'll look at that in a minute. And obviously I went Son thinking that he would get perhaps more chances this season, playing in the more attacking role as we saw for the second half of the last season. And he has. His shot volume has gone up, but he hasn't delivered, and Salah has. So it's just not worked out for me. Whether I get Salah at this point, of course, the optimum thing to do would be to get Salah. There's no doubt about it. I mean, no, I'm being serious.
Oh, no,
right? I'm being serious.
Yeah.
But it would be because
speeches, yeah.
we know exactly what he can do, and he's done it so far without actually playing well. So people will say, well, what happens when he does play well? Surely he's going to absolutely smash it. But I'm still a little bit sceptical about Salah's role for Liverpool at the moment, particularly when Darwin comes back, and I'll look at some data. But the big caveat is top of the show, all the data we show today is after 3 game weeks. We are going off that because that's all we've got to go on, as well as the eye test, right? So I know people are going to be screaming, but it's such a small sample. You can't make these calls based off that. I understand. I totally understand. But it is all we've got, and we've got to look for some. It's informative. It's not. It doesn't give conclusions, but it informs to an extent. And obviously, I'm playing the wild card, so I've got to go with what I've got. Right? I can't sit here and wait for 10 game weeks, given that I've had the worst start ever to an FPL season. I think I had to move. I didn't have Jesus, and his performances, unlike Salah, have been incredible. He's looked amazing. He's looked the player that I didn't think he was. Like, he didn't show up the way he's been showing up for Arsenal at City, did he? He didn't have those opportunities to shine. I mean, what do you make of Jesus' performance? Why do you think it is that he's looked so special in that Arsenal team? Is it just because City had a gallery of stars and Arsenal don't, or what do you reckon it is?
Yeah, I mean, I was sceptical about him. I've seen him play plenty of times for City and always thought he's an amazing squad player to have. He's always busy, always, always doing a good job for the team. But I doubted him as like an out-and-out goal scorer for that club, and whether he was really good enough to lead the line. I mean, he did a good job, when Aguero was injured and he came in and he had some good seasons, but I never really thought he had the full backing to be that player. And, last year when he shipped over to the right wing, and that is kind of not really what he wants, I don't think. So, I mean, it's a massive confidence boost, isn't it? Arteta's worked with him before, knows what he's about, has brought him in, stuck him straight in number 9. He's got all these creative players around him. But it's also just what he's doing off the ball as well, which is so impressive. And the chances he's creating for other teammates. I mean, the first goal for Odegaard, for example, was all him making. I think Martinelli got the assist for it, but Jesus was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, he's just in that. Yeah, I mean, he's proved me wrong, because I had my doubts about him. I only went for him really because of the price. But yeah, he's been absolutely electric, and I can't really see any reason why that wouldn't carry on, because Arsenal are going to keep creating chances. I think they're going to have a strong season. They're definitely going to be in and around the top 4, and he's still going to be 8 million, even if he goes up to 9.5. He's still going to be a player.
Yeah, and people were saying to me, "Well, you look pre-season. Jesus is brilliant, so why didn't you go with him?" Son and Kane were brilliant pre-season, right? But Son and Kane didn't do anything game week 1, and Son hasn't done anything for me in the 3 game weeks I've had him. How much stock do you put in pre-season? Do you put stock in it for Jesus, but not with Son and Kane? You can't. Yeah. You can't do it on a case-by-case basis. So I kind of reserved judgment on pre-season. I didn't factor it in too much, and perhaps I should have done with Jesus. Perhaps that's a lesson learned. But I went Saka, and the gap between Saka and Jesus, as we're going to see later, is massive. So that's the main driving force behind it. Son's disappointment as well, to the point where I think he's on the verge of being rested for one of these next 3 game weeks, because they've got the midweek game weeks we'll look in a minute. And I think that's the risk. But let's look at our game weeks just gone first of all, shall we? Because I think that I think that's where we ought to start, because the tale of woe continues. We'll start with your game week, Lo. 53 points. You've got Ward in goal, Trent, Cancelo. I'll let you talk through it, actually, now you've caught up. Talk us through your teams and how many points you got with that 53.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of just relying on a couple of players, really. I mean, Ward, Trent, Cancelo, James, all blanking. Perisic and Zinchenko coming good. I mean, I had Perisic from the start, so him getting rewarded, is nice, because now it's kind of like he's got 4 points in every game, right? Or I guess that's not the best way to look at it, but you know what I mean. Now he's got kind of 12 points. It feels like that wasn't a completely terrible idea. At least he's got me something. I mean, I was amazed with how many people were buying him. I was thinking of selling him, for example, but yeah, a few people did get him, and it was a great performance from him in the second half, and just showed what kind of damage he can do if he plays in that spot. So yeah, happy with that. Zinchenko I bought in for Dean. I mean, it looks good on paper because obviously Dean lost the clean sheet. Actually, if I hadn't done that, I could have just played Pereira, and then I would have got 8 points from him. So again, it's these defensive transfers. They even if you make it, and you only get your points back basically if Dean gets 2 and Zinchenko gets 6. So I only broke even with that really. But then I would have had more if I played Pereira. But whatever, I'm much happier with Zinchenko going forward. And then Salah captain, De Bruyne with the assist, Mount with 2. My God, Mount. We'll talk about him later. Martinelli with 6 and Jesus with 4. So I bought in James, Zinchenko, Martinelli. They got 13 points between them, which I would have hoped for more. But Perisic got me a kind of basically a grey arrow. So average week. I was surprised though that 53 points was a kind of a red arrow at this rank. It shows that people are getting points from a lot of different places.
Yeah, and it just shows how difficult it's going to be this season to climb up the ranks. I think it's going to be a long, tough season unless you can find effective differentials on a regular basis. It's going to be a slow climb. If indeed we do climb at all, let's hope we do. Let's look at my team.
Didn't say that.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. 39 points with a 4-point hit as well, so 35 points. Disastrous. I mean, I've had 3 consecutive game weeks at 5 million or more game week rank, which puts me 6 million in the world, which is the lowest rank I've ever occupied at this point.
It's the captains, isn't it?
It's
the captains that are killing you.
Yeah, captains have killed me. And I'll talk about things in a minute, but I'll go through the team. Ramsdale with 6, Cancelo with a 0, Trent with a 0, James with 1, Walker with 1. Captain was Son in midfield with just the 6, of course. Diaz 2, Saka 3, Martinelli 6, Haaland 6, Tony 8. So my transfers in for the game week for a hit were Johnson out to Tony and Robertson out for James. So Robertson for James was okay, 1 point each. But of course, my man Brennan delivered the goal and a 10-point return. So there you go. I was down on the deal by 6 points. So I lost faith in Brennan. I did think we'd get a result at Everton. I thought we actually might win. And Brennan was always going to be a threat. And obviously it was bittersweet when he scored the goal. But no, I was delighted when he scored the goal. Let's face it, I was running up and down the garden. So, yeah. But Tony, I don't regret getting in because I got him in before the price rise. He's had another rise and I'm going to keep him on the wild card. So it's not too bad. Same for James. Got him in before the rise. I think I saved 0.4 by making those moves. So 0.4 for 4 points. It's an argument whether you want points or pounds, but I think 0.4 is a decent saving, so I'll take it. But I think I have to react. I mean, my team looks okay, and I'm sure
it doesn't look like a wild card, like a team in need of a wild card.
And the thing is, I think Son and Saka could well return this week. But the trouble is, I do think Son. Well, let's have a look at the fixtures because I want to look at this situation, the schedule going forward. So let's just go to this graphic first, which is again from Holly Shand, the lovely Holly Shand, who did this graphic earlier this week, which kind of shows now that from this point on, from game week 4 onwards, there's midweeks to think about now. So we've got a midweek game week 5 coming up. More on that in a moment. But then from game week 6 onwards, the teams in Europe have midweek games all the way through to game week 15-16. So it is a factor now, isn't it, that we've got to consider the fact that these big teams, and let's face it, our FPL lineups are made up of those players in big teams. They're going to have midweek matches. What's your hot take on that at the moment?
Yeah, it's tough. It's one of those ones that's kind of the worst season for it to happen. I mean, a lot of us are maybe not so much, but I'm one up front, for example, with Jesus, and there wasn't a lot of investment in up front, kind of at the start of the season. So there's quite a few people knocking around with like an Archer and a Greenwood kind of in their sides, and that just doesn't give you the bench option for when it's gonna happen. I think though that what we're going to see is rotation and not full rests for players. So I think that kind of means that planning is just a lot trickier to do and maybe not even worth thinking about too much because players are going to come on and maybe making sure we've got stacked benches isn't the best play. Taking out players like Perisic and Martinelli who might be rotated, or even Haaland, as a lot of people are doing. I'm seeing a lot of worry about those, but I kind of just feel like they're going to get minutes and everyone's going to be at risk. I don't think there's too many players that are guaranteed to play 90. Maybe Tony is kind of one of them, but even someone like Saka, who I thought would play 90, is being kind of in and out of the team. So my hot take on it is, we've had Champions League before, we've had this kind of thing before, and I think with the 5 subs, we're going to see our players coming on. So I think it's less of a problem maybe than it would have been previously.
Really? Surely with the 5 subs, the managers are more likely to rotate because they know they've got the opportunity to turn the game if it goes wrong. So what can
you do though? What can you do about it?
No. I'm not saying there's anything we can do about it. I'm saying if I'm a Premier League manager, and I've now got the prospect of midweek games, I can surely be afforded the luxury of resting more players in terms of starting them because I know they're on the bench and I can bring 5 subs on. So if I'm 2-0 down after 20 minutes, I can correct it. So whereas before you only had 3 subs, so you've got that little bit more power to. If you rest the wrong player, you can correct it quite early on. So I think there's more likely that we are going to see players not start. Is my theory, but it is only a theory. I mean, what's your theory?
No, I think you're right. My point is, I think it's less important for us really because trying to predict it is just. Perisic is a perfect example, right? I can't see Perisic, even though his minutes are going to be managed. I can't see him missing a full 90. If he's fit.
No.
Even across this period, because he'll still come on. And that's because maybe if there was 3 subs, he'd be more at risk of missing out. But with the 5, I think he's probably going to see minutes across all of it, which means I think he's a fine hold. I think if it was 3 subs, I'd probably be looking at selling Perisic after game week 5. Because he's probably going to play in the Champions League and not in the league. But I think he'll get enough minutes to be all right.
I think so, but if I told you now Perisic doesn't start at Forest and you had a decent 12th player, would you start Perisic even though you know he's not starting the game and you had someone who you wanted, like say you had, I don't know, a decent player you want to play Trossard or something who's your first sub, would you still start Perisic even though you know for sure he's only get 20 minutes? You're not going to, are you?
Well, so you're kind of hinting at should we be keeping the Champions League players? Should we be going down to the lower mid-table team?
Well, there is a bit of that, and there is a bit. I think that there is going to be some predictability. Like I think if Perisic starts at Forest, he probably won't start in midweek. I would say because he's not going to start 3 games, or he's not going to start at the weekend, right? So there is a bit of predictability. There's no way Perisic starts 3 games, 4, 5, and 6, is there?
No.
Right. So we know that. So it gets more easy to predict as we go through those game weeks. Let's look at.
Well, unless his minutes are managed to the point in which he's only played, if he comes off at 70 minutes twice in a row, then maybe he does start the 3rd one, gets another 70.
Think so? Maybe.
Maybe.
We don't know.
It's tricky, isn't it? It's hard to know. Yeah.
We can only speculate that we expect to see, so this is game weeks 4 to 6. So we've got game week 4 this weekend, and then game week 5 in midweek, and then game week 6 at the end of this chart here, as you see. And then the colour code is the number of days between matches for the teams that we've got. And so significantly, Man City, Liverpool and Spurs only have 2 clear days between game weeks 5 and 6. So you'd expect to see rotation somewhere over these 3 game weeks in those teams because, so for example, Haaland, is he going to start at Palace, Forest and then Villa when he's only got 2 days between the Forest game and Villa? I guess the only scenario where he could is if he comes off after an hour against Forest, which could happen, as you say. But I think this week will tell us more. Right? So these 3 game weeks will tell us more about what we can expect when the European fixtures come in, right?
Yeah, and I've been looking at Chelsea. They're the teams that you don't want this on, right? We've got Liverpool assets, we've got City assets, and then I'm looking at someone like Chelsea and thinking, the fixtures are good, but they're not really playing that well, and it kind of makes me want to keep the likes of Mount and James and people with Cucurella and stuff. When really, are they good enough to hold like triple Chelsea, for example, given kind of what they've shown so far? So yeah, it's interesting. I just don't really know how much to kind of read into it. I look at Haaland, for example. Haaland's the perfect pick. I mean, Pep has said that he's gonna not play, but he's not gonna not play at all, right? He's still gonna get significant number of minutes
over the 3 games. He'll get, what should we say, 140 plus for about 170 minutes probably.
Yeah. I have 270. So play about half.
Yeah. So that's effectively missing 1 game.
But then do you think De Bruyne gets 90 across all? He probably only gets about...
No, he'll miss 10 minutes in most games. But De Bruyne will play... I mean, I think I can sit here now and say De Bruyne will get more minutes over the next 3 game weeks than Haaland, for sure. Unless he gets injured. But I would fully expect him to. Because I think Haaland gets 75 minutes in the games he starts, and he'll come on with 20 minutes to go in the game he doesn't start. So what's that? 150, 170 minutes, which isn't even the equivalent of 290 minutes. So we've got to think about it, haven't we? It is a factor. Harry Kane will start all 3 games, won't he?
Yeah. I mean, the perfect, I've mentioned Chelsea, but the perfect team on this chart is my boys, is Brighton, because they've got the rest, the biggest amount of rest between games. The fixtures are nice, Leeds, Fulham and Leicester. They're in form and they've got good players. So, the likes of Welbeck, Gross, even Dunk as well, kind of centre-back, and Sanchez. I mean, if it goes well, we could be like second in the league by the time game week 8 rolls around. We've got such a good run at the moment. It's a good time to invest in us.
Yeah, I mean, going back to the rotation, I don't think Liverpool were concerned because they don't have the squad depth at the moment.
No, that's true.
So Salah, Diaz. I mean, if Jota was fit, if Darwin was available,
Simicast for Robertson, he's been knocking around a bit.
Well, Darwin will be available for game week 6, so he could come back in then, but he's not going to influence game weeks 4 and 5. So I don't think there's any concern over Salah. I don't think anyone's ringing the alarm bells there. Haaland, we know, will likely miss one of these 3 games. And the thing about Haaland versus Kane is Kane will not only probably start all 3, he'll probably get 90 minutes in all 3 because Richarlison Moura will be used to bring off Kulusevski and Son, I would have thought. So I don't think Kane will miss any minutes. So there is a big difference between Kane and Haaland potentially over these 3 game weeks. This is influencing your wildcard, isn't it? Yeah, of course it is. I've got to think about this, right? But the thing is, we're sitting here now and we can only speculate. We can only speculate what impact it's going to have, and then we can only speculate that what we see over these 3 game weeks will carry on during the European games. But, a scenario I'm looking at is, we do see some rotation in midweek in preparation for game week 6, because I think Pep's almost come out and said that, and we've got to expect that the managers of the teams in Europe are preparing to do that over the course of the next up to game week 17 because of the schedule we just saw. There's no way. I mean, even Salah probably will miss 1 or 2 games between now and game week 17, I would have thought, unless he's not playing the European games, of course. He might not. But you've got to think when Jota and Darwin come back, Salah won't play every single game, I don't think. He'll probably miss 1, maybe only 1. But, it's more like...
Well, they can't bench him if they keep carrying on the start of the season they've had so far.
Not at the moment, no. So it really depends on... If Liverpool win the group, maybe they can rest players in the group matches for the last 2 ties. Who knows? I mean, we don't know. It's purely speculation, but we're expecting some effect, aren't we? With regards to Son, I look at this and think, I think he could miss one of those 3 games, which is another reason why I've wildcarded. Because I look at it and think, I could hold Son for Forest. To be fair, the way he's performing at the moment, Richarlison could start the Forest game. And I know Spurs fans are saying that they think that might happen. Even if he starts Forest... I think he'll miss the West Ham game and Richarlison will start that one with the idea that Son comes back in 2 days later against Fulham. Do you agree, or do you think Son's going to start all 3?
I mean, he hasn't looked great, and I don't think Spurs have looked particularly great either. I think they, particularly in the first half against Wolves, it was such a lethargic kind of game, wasn't it? Until it kind of went up a little bit in the second. But I mean, against Chelsea, they were awful as well. They got off to a slow start against Southampton, but then eventually kind of worked through. So it's only really 90 minutes of good football they've had across 3 games and across 2 different games. So there could be changes that come in. It's just really hard to imagine Son being dropped.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's not. It wouldn't even be rested, right? It doesn't. They could kind of say it like that. But if he's getting dropped for one of these games, it is a dropping for Richarlison. And if Richarlison comes in and does really well, what happens then? Does he persist with Richarlison? If Richarlison comes in and scores, he can't drop him the next game.
Difficult, isn't it? And to be fair, Richarlison's done well when he's come on. And at the weekend, Son had a very bad game, and Richarlison come up and impressed in the 20 minutes he got. While we can't see Son getting dropped or rested, you also can't see Richarlison remaining on the bench for the next 3 games either, can you? So who does he come in for? Naturally, it's on the right hand side for Son, I would say, but
yeah, I mean, it was an interesting one at the
Left-hand
start,
side,
before the season, because like I just couldn't work out where Richarlison would fit in, and the obvious person is okay, Kulusevski, 60 minutes, Richarlison comes on, but then it's like, well, he can't play on the right, so how's that going to work? Does Kulusevski drop back to like a right wing back slot? Now they've got Spence and Doherty and everyone there, so I still find the Richarlison signing a strength. I think it's a good signing in terms of cover, but I still question how many games he's going to start unless he does kind of displace Son, which just seems completely
There's
crazy.
no way. I mean, Son's one of the best players in the Premier League, and he could well start and return against Forest. I'm fully prepared for that. But I still look at it and think there's question marks over one of these 3 starts. And I can't have a £12 million player in my team if I'm not confident they're starting 95% of games. And at the moment, the way he's playing, even if he starts at Forest, he'd have to do something against Forest to keep his place, I think, for one of the next 2, because I think Richarlison will eventually get a start, and it will come for him, I think.
He's 0.7 more than Kane. He's not on penalties. He's getting subbed early. Spurs aren't even playing that well. He's not playing that well. He's not a 9 or 10 million asset anymore. No, when you're 12, 30 million, you've got to have that reliability of I'm going to at least consider captaining you every week. And if you've got 2 premiums, you're between Haaland and Salah or De Bruyne and Salah, like most weeks. You can't be riding out a 12 million asset that you're never going to captain. It's just...
It's a very reluctant sell because, looking at the chances he's had and the fact that Forest is a good fixture, I don't like to get rid of him, but I don't think I have much choice because
are we in last year? Is this last year again?
I know, all over again, isn't it? When you talked me into doing it. I know, don't. And he could easily do that, and I know the consequences of it, but I just think this schedule puts a question mark over one of those starts for him, and I don't think I can have a player like that. I mean, if I go KDB, you could argue he could get rested, but I just don't see it, particularly if they're gonna not play start Haaland in one of these games. I can't see KDB getting rested. So, I think I have to go without Son and sacrifice him. So, yeah, X-Mins is now a factor, I think, is what we're saying. Long and short.
Yeah, I mean,
X-Mins
is driving this wildcard, right? Because you took question marks about Son, question marks about Haaland. Yeah. You're not that sold on Salah. I think we can all kind of see where this is going. It's going to be interesting to see the big reveal.
Let's look at some data. It's only 3 weeks, of course. We're looking at attack first, and the aforementioned City at the top for XG non-penalty per 90, 1.77 XG non-penalty per 90. Really impressive. Probably what we expected. Probably what we didn't expect, though, was Arsenal ranked second on 1.76. Equally impressive, right? They've shot out the blocks and been outstanding, and they've rivaled City almost like for like so far for XG non-penalty. The 2 of them have been really impressive, haven't they? I mean, it's the link between them is Zinchenko and Jesus, and they've played their part.
Oh, it's. I mean, the signings they've made have been absolutely brilliant. I mean, we had some question marks about them last season. And they turned out all right. They brought Ramsdale in, Tomiyasu, Ben White. Was that last year, Ben White?
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah, and they all were kind of okay. But this year, the signings are elite. I think Zinchenko and Jesus are elite signings for them. And then they've got Vieira to come in as well. They got Saliba back. From all his loan spells.
Saliba's goal.
I know. Andy North, bringing him in, and they've got a really, really good and deep squad. And and I compare that to like Liverpool's squad, and I think, well, actually, I think Arsenal have got the better squad here. I mean, Liverpool, all injury-free first team. Obviously, Liverpool are one of the best teams in Europe, and Arsenal aren't there yet. But I really like the depth of what Arteta's got in his side, and I think there's going to be players, chomping on the bit to get in that side and kind of make their mark. Tierney, Tierney is a quality player when he's fit, and he's not going to be happy not playing with Zinchenko there. You've got Xhaka playing at the top level, and there's so much such a good option for Arteta at the moment because he's got all these players to choose from, and it's great when everything's going well. Like I said last week, though, the question mark is if they do dip, if they do start picking up some draws or not playing so well, and he has to start ringing the changes, kind of what happens then. But for now, perfect team to invest in.
Yeah, I mean, do you see Smith Rowe coming? I mean, those 3 fixtures for Arsenal, surely Smith Rowe starts one, doesn't he? I mean, that's the thing with Martinelli. You've got to think that Smith Rowe gets a start in one of those 3.
Well, yeah, and you've got to think Vieira plays a little bit as well? Because he's signed for 30 million, 35 million. Does he come in for kind of an Odegaard to give him a rest? It's I just don't know.
No.
I just don't know. It's really tricky. I mean, I do know that Smith Rowe is too good to never play football for Arsenal or only come off the bench. So he's going to have opportunities to play. And we've seen him last year take those opportunities when he comes off the bench. And the goals he got for me when he kept going off the bench were brilliant. So it's a really tricky one to call. I look at Martinelli and I look at Jesus and I look at Zinchenko, and I think at the moment add Odegaard to that as well. But probably I still think he's not as good an option as those three. I think those three. I think Zinchenko, Martinelli, and Jesus, they are undroppable for Arsenal at the moment. So I'm not particularly worried about Martinelli. I think he starts. I think he starts every game at the moment, and just gets his minutes managed.
And maybe it's Europa League where Smith Rowe will get the starts and Vieira. It's just whether Arteta feels he has to give him something in these next three. It'll be interesting. I mean, it'll inform us, won't it? Sam is
just quickly, just a reminder that Arsenal aren't in the Champions League; they're in the Europa League.
Europa League, yeah.
Reporting out in the chat. So it is different to like the Spurs and Chelsea and all those who are going to be probably going to be playing the big guns or maybe making a few changes. Arsenal can just ring the changes in Europa,
and that'll probably be the case, right? And I think we'll see. I mean, but I imagine Smith Rowe will get the games. It's just whether or not Smith Rowe if they can keep him out of the Premier League team, because I mean Smith Rowe won't be happy with that, will he? So it's difficult. No. It's a difficult job for Arteta the way they've started to manage that, and compared to Liverpool, who don't have any options. But they're 1.56 XG non-penalty is not bad considering how poor they've been over the 3 games, and that shows you that we still expect them to score goals. They're still having 17.3 shots per 90. They're still creating 2.6 big chances per 90 at the moment, and that is in a team which looks almost fragmented. They've no midfield. Thiago's a big loss, right?
Not 17 shots per 90, right? Every chance every 17 minutes. Is that right?
No.
Am I reading that table right?
Yeah, no. 17 chances per 90. It is.
17 chances per 90.
Yeah, City are doing 18.
Yeah, that's really high, really high.
Don't forget Palace. They were up against 10 men. They must have had about 25 shots in that game alone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I forget it's small samples as well. I mean, it's not really the attack. I mean, the attack is a worry in some ways, because I just think with Milner and Henderson, they just haven't got that real cutting, drive and penetration. I mean, Milner's a very fit player, but he's not an engine anymore, and neither's Henderson. So I don't really know. And then you're relying on Elliott to kind of, a kid in midfield to the midfield is so important and always has been so important for Liverpool. And Fabinho was missing, and they're so reliant on those fullbacks and making the most of Salah down the right. But he had a poor game, and the problem is you look across the team and you just think a lot of them are just playing really poorly at the moment. Like Van Dijk's playing poorly. Matip's out, and Gomez was awful. Robertson isn't playing well. Tsimikas came in and didn't play well. Midfield, you look at Salah, you look at across the whole side.
It's not happening anywhere. And what's worrying me as well, Klopp is saying some very strange things post-match.
But saying they deserve to win against United is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Like, why say that?
Did he say that, or did he say we could have won?
No, he said something like, "You'll laugh at me, but we should have won that game." That's what he said. And there's absolutely no way you can make that case, because they were completely outperformed. And it's nice in a way that he's not turning on the players. He's kind of trying to be optimistic, and that's I do like that with the guy. But you've got to be a bit realistic and just admit when you've had a poor bloody game, because they were terrible.
Leeds sandwiched between Arsenal and Liverpool surprised us all. Right, 1.65 XG non-penalty per 90, an average of 12.3 shots per 90. They really come out. I mean, I expect Leeds to struggle this season. I didn't think they'd be relegated, but I expect them to struggle a bit. But they've just been outstanding. And Rodriguez, we're going to see in a bit, has been the eye-catching player. But Harrison as well. Aronson has caught the eye. I mean, are you surprised by what you've seen? And are you getting to the point where you're going to start backing them?
I mean, I'm so surprised, because again, we thought Marsh would bring in a more kind of pragmatic approach to Leeds and look to tighten them up a little bit, and that would, losing Rafinha, that would mean less attacking, play. But they've been really good. And I think Aronson has been one of the players of the season so far. He's just been absolutely brilliant. And a few people called that at the start of the season. I wanted to give him a bit of time and see kind of how he settled, but he's settled so well in that side. And yeah, I mean, you got, in complete contrast to Liverpool, you've got all their players sort of playing completely out of their skin. So I think we have to kind of look at them because they've got good fixtures on the horizon. Obviously, Rodrigo's popular, but there's other options that we can kind of consider from them as well. You mentioned Harrison, this Sinistera guy whose name I really like. When Bamford, when he comes back in, they're all options for us, just not really in defence. But Rodrigo, definitely the standout at the moment.
We'll look at him in detail in a moment, but just to touch on a couple of teams that are struggling out at the moment after 3 games, and that's Chelsea 1.11 XG non-penalty per 90 and West Ham 0.95. They've had a miserable start. I mean, what do you make of Chelsea, first of all? We've got Chelsea players in our team. It's not right, is it? Disjointed.
Oh, it's so poor. Like, it's so poor. And they just miss having this striker up front. But, again, it's just poor performances across the side. Like, they're all kind of set up for Mount. That's what I see when I look at them. They're kind of the like Havertz is dropping and Mount is bombing forward, and he's just forgotten how to shoot. Completely forgotten how to shoot. And then you're looking at Sterling, and okay, he's not a kind of elite
I want
finisher,
him to be a thing, Sterling.
So do I, so much at 10 million. But I just look at him and just think he's not getting chances really. He's not looking that lively. It's like they don't really know how to play with him on that side. Now they're talking about bringing Gordon in for 60 million, which is just absolutely crazy to me. I'm going to go full like Paul Merson when he was talking about like De Bruyne. But I just can't see it. I just can't see him for 60 million. It's a lot of money, but however you look at it, it's a lot of money, and it seems to be a position they don't really need. I mean, they've got Ziyech and Pulisic.
Well, it's not happening though, is it? Mount's not having an impact on games. There's just not spark. There's no spark in the team. Sterling can't do it on his own. He needs good players around him, and even then he struggled at City for spells. I like Gordon as a catalyst for attacks, right? And they haven't got that at the moment.
No, I mean, that's true. I mean, I look at Pulisic and Ziyech and think, okay, they are 2 players, or even Hudson-Odoi, and just think these are difference makers who just aren't getting any chances at all. And what more? Like, it must be so frustrating being them after 3 weeks.
Oh yeah,
barely having a chance and being like, well, I couldn't have done any worse than what the front three are doing with Havertz, Sterling, and Mount. I mean, Mount has just been so disappointing, I think, across these games. Just really, really poor. So something needs to change. I don't personally think it's Gordon. I think they need. I don't really know what they need. I think they need someone creative in midfield, and they need a striker. And I just don't see how Gordon is going to improve them that much.
I think he will. I think he could, but we'll see what happens. Let's look at defence just quickly. Arsenal again. Arsenal and City top of that in terms of XG conceded non-penalty over the 90. Arsenal 0.65, City 0.81, and then it's Brighton 0.83. Spurs 0.93, Wolves 1.06. Liverpool 1.06. So the top 6 are teams with Brentford below, are teams that I do expect to see up there. Even after 3 game weeks, these are teams that we thought would be some of the most secure. Wolves perhaps not, to change the back 4, but certainly City, Brighton, Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, these are the teams we expect to see up there. Are you surprised by Arsenal's resolution in defence as well? They look completely robust as well, don't they? It's not like they're attacking and they're giving up chances at the back. I mean, Ramsdale looks a bit shaky, but apart from that, they look secure, don't they?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, against Palace, I think they were lucky, to come away from that with a clean sheet. I think they then conceded against Leicester, and then they played a Bournemouth side who just didn't look like they had anything. Yeah. They just, I think you tweeted saying something about Ramsdale and how he could still be at Bournemouth and not be troubled, because it was just ridiculous. Like there was just no pressure from them at all. So I think it's a little bit skewed based on that match. But again, I mean, the fixtures are great, and the team just looks really, really solid. You look at that, particularly that back 3. I think Ben White will eventually come out for Tomiyasu. Then you look at midfield, and it's a team of players who know how to play together. They attack and defend as a unit, and they've got good fixtures. So there's no reason not to think they can keep some more clean sheets over this period. So yeah, I just really like Arsenal. I think they're a really fun team to watch.
But there's going to be regression defensively, because you're right, the fixtures play a part in them being top of this table here. City and Brighton, maybe not regression though. City we expect to be the best defence over the season. And Brighton, do you see them being in the top 3 or 4? No bias in your opinion?
Well, I still can't quite believe how good we are without Cucurella and Basuma. I think it's just amazing how our players have stepped up. And, Casado's being linked with 70, 80 million moves to Liverpool and United. Veltman's come in. I mean, Webster was kind of out of the team for quite a bit of last season, and he's come back in and he's been playing really well. And we're just such a well-drilled, organised, fantastic team. And the key word is team there, because Potter has just got them all playing for each other, and they're just going to overperform this season. It's a really exciting season ahead for us. So I am surprised because of the players we lost, but I'm not surprised because of how highly I rate Potter.
Small data sample, but Leicester 1.55, just above Forest at the bottom there. So 1.55 XG conceded per 90. Although it's a small sample, at the moment, I don't see Leicester improving. I mean, they're going to lose Fofana by the looks of it. You've got Ward and Everson, of course, as a lot of managers have. It's not going to get any better for you, I don't think. Do you have any optimism at all?
My only optimism if Ward gets dropped and Iverson comes in, because I think he's better. I mean, Ward's been really poor, really, really poor these 3 games. I thought he could get a couple of saves or at least one clean sheet against either Brentford or Southampton. And it's 2 games in which it's been 60, 70 minutes, and it's been looking quite good. And then it's just gone completely the other way. So really disappointing. I mean, 3 points from Ward. I mean, I know he only cost 4 million, but you're hoping for a little bit more from him. And like you, I can't see it getting any better, because I mean, there doesn't seem to be any fight back from last season when it was really poor. I mean, they ended the season quite well last season. They've started poorly again now. No signings have come in. They're likely to lose a player. I mean, there's no guarantee either they're going to take that Fofana money and invest it.
No,
because if they're struggling financially, and they're leaving it late, there's only a week left to get someone in. So I think they're going to be weaker at centre back. They're not going to have strength in other areas. They're relying on Vardy, who's getting on a bit now. Iheanacho and Daka haven't really performed. Tielemans wants out, definitely. Madison's probably going to get his head turned.
And what is Rodgers thinking? Do you think Rodgers is looking and going, I think Rodgers might be time to go myself?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that's... I think Rodgers was doing really well at Celtic, right? He was winning the league with them. He was in the Champions League, everything. He signed for Leicester because he genuinely believed he could get them into the top 4 with investment and really make his mark on that club. Well, if he's not getting investment and they're selling all of his best players, there's no way he's sticking around to see that ship sink.
It's not good.
He doesn't want a relegation with Leicester on his CV, does he?
And I generally think, looking at the standard we've seen so far, it is only 3 games. Leicester could be definitely in that bottom 6 at the moment from what we've seen. Particularly, only if they lose Madison for sure. They've got quality to not get in that position, but they could lose that quality, and that's the problem.
I just like the team has got such. It's a bit like West Ham, right? West Ham are struggling as well, but they'll get out. Such good players.
They'll get out.
And Bowen and Rice and all that. And I look at Leicester and I think they have got the players to easily, they're easily a top 8 side if on the day. Justin, I rate Justin so highly. Madison, Tielemans, Vardy. These are good, like top quality players, but they're just. I just don't think there's something not right. There's something not right in that side, and I think if the manager's not completely invested, that trickles down to the players. If the owners aren't fully invested because of all these things, they're just a no go.
Whipping boys, potentially whipping boys.
They are, absolutely, yeah.
I'm going to bring the ticker up, and I've done a ticker from game weeks 4 to 10, so 7 game weeks. Do you know why I've done that? Bit of a quiz. No one's talked about this, I don't think. But there are 2 teams who have 5 home games in the next 7, and there are 2 teams who only have 2 home games in the next 7.
Okay.
So in the next 7, Manchester City play 5 home games. They play Palace, Forest, Spurs, United, Southampton. So 5 home games in 7. Arsenal also have 5 home games in 7. They play Fulham, Villa, Everton, Spurs and Liverpool. And on the flip side, you've got United with only 2 home games in 7 and Spurs with only 2 home games in 7 as well.
It's funny how that's possible.
Yeah. So that's how the fixtures have turned out. And I haven't seen anyone pick on this, but were you aware of that? Is that something that affects your thinking at the moment?
Oh, it's definitely not something I was aware of. I mean, look at City as well, and I look at the 2 away games they've got, and it's Villa and Wolves. Well, that's pretty nice. Who's the other team you mentioned? Was it Liverpool? No, Arsenal. Sorry,
Arsenal. Yeah.
Yeah, well, they've got United and Brentford away, and then the other home game. So again, it's not like they're playing really difficult away games with their good home games as well. So yeah, I mean that's it, isn't it? I mean they're top of the attacking data. You want to max out on City and Arsenal. You want to have six players from those. So yeah, I mean I'm thinking of losing Mount and bringing in Gundogan. He hasn't played tonight, Gundogan, in this random friendly against Barca.
No,
I think it's for, I call it random. I think it is for a
charity.
cause.
Yeah.
But yeah, I look at Gundogan and think, I want to get another attacking City player in, and look at these fixtures and think, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, and I looked at Spurs and only 2 home games in 7, but then I had a look and Kane got 192 points last season. 105 came away from home. He was one of the top scorers away from home. Son and Kane got 105 points away from home last season. Do you know who beat that? Have a guess.
It's definitely not going to be Salah because you wouldn't have that.
It was Salah.
It was Salah.
Yeah, he got 125. Yeah, so even though Spurs only got 2 home games in the next 7, Son and particularly Kane were very effective away from home last season. So don't be too down on them if you do hold one of them too. Let's start looking at some player data. Let's look at keepers first. And you mentioned Danny Ward. And if we look at the goalkeepers so far and we look at expected goal prevented, minus 2.80, he's right at the bottom. Right at the bottom. So in other words, he should have prevented 2.80 goals so far.
They got us, Mark. FPL Towers, they've laid a trap, a 4 million goalkeeper trap.
You completely fell for that. Yeah, yeah. So and even BPS, you'd expect, like with the save points, he's only made 6 saves in the 3 appearances so far. 6 saves, and he's earning BPS.
Well.
Yeah, baseline BPS, which is, just to explain, that is BPS without any goals and assists and clean sheets removed, right? So you don't get. We're not counting that. So this is just raw BPS for saves, recoveries, passes completed. He is 11.3 per 90. If you compare him to Dean Henderson, who's at the top, not only has Dean Henderson got an XGP of 2.70, the best, he's also made 18 saves, 3 times as many as Ward, and has got double the baseline BPS per 90 as Ward for 0.5 more. So it's like quite a swing there between Henderson at the top and Ward at the bottom for just 0.5. So he was a trap, wasn't he? But I don't blame you. I looked at it. Who didn't look at it? Even those managers who didn't do it, I bet you they put them in the team to have a look what they could do with that extra money. Everyone did, surely.
Yeah, I just didn't expect Leicester to be this bad. I know a lot of people called it and rightly so, but I saw enough signs from the end of last season to make me think, okay, when they've got an almost fully fit squad, I know Pereira's out, but generally speaking, they've got most of their players. I mean, obviously the Fofana thing has kind of hit quite late, and so's the Tielemans thing and all this kind of stuff. There was a bit of unrest, but I just thought, I know the fixtures weren't amazing, but I thought, they've got Brentford and they've got Southampton, and then in the harder games he can make some saves. Maybe they can keep tight, but they're just like, they're so bad from everything. Like they can see chance from open play. They're still bad from set pieces. Can't understand it. They still can't.
No, it hasn't changed. I did predict that. I did say, we see this season to season. Like you'd expect, Rodgers would have worked on that all pre-season, but he hasn't had an effect. Doesn't look like it. But then losing Schmeichel right on the 11th hour.
I think losing Schmeichel was bigger than I kind of thought it was, because I've seen Danny Ward play quite a few times and thought he was quite decent, like for Wales and things. I thought he kind of slot in, but losing that experience and that presence in the box has affected them even more. So, I mean, you just wouldn't go for Ward on a wild card.
No. Henderson is the 4-5 once Forest fixtures improve, I think. You look at the volume of saves, look at the volume of recoveries as well, 44 recoveries. So he's absolutely reaping in the baseline bonus at the moment, baseline bonus point system.
Yeah.
22.7 per 90. Forest don't need to keep clean sheets if he gets bonus points at this rate. 18 saves as well. Obviously, he's certainly one to keep an eye on when Forest fixtures improve. The thing that stands out for me is Ramsdale has only made 6 saves, and his baseline BPS is 10.3, which is less than Ederson. You look at Ramsdale and you think, well, I'll get bonus points. Yeah, less than Ward. You'll get bonus points from Ramsdale in a clean sheet. Well, you're not going to at the moment because he's just not affecting the game in that way. He's only made the 6 saves. So I guess
recoveries are one of the lowest as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's not in the equation for bonus. So if you're holding Ramsdale and your defence for holding him as well, it's not just about clean sheets, it's bonus as well. Maybe you do need to trade him in and look at one of the defenders instead.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious to me that sort of a Sanchez and Zinchenko is better than a Ramsdale and I don't know, a 4.5 defender. Like, I just think there's such good 4.5 goalkeepers. Like there always is. I mean, Henderson, Sanchez, Raya, I think are three great 4.5 goalkeepers. And I'd rather have all of those than Ramsdale, because if I haven't got Ramsdale, then I can go for one of the defenders. I think any of the defenders are better than Ramsdale. Saliba, Zinchenko, or even Gabriel at 5.
And who's my goalkeeper?
Not anymore, surely.
Yeah, there you go. Another reason perhaps behind the wild card. Let's look at defenders, and this is sorted by XGI non-penalty per 90. Perisic right at the top. He's only played 112 minutes, so that has obviously boosted his expected goal involvement non-penalty per 90 to 0.69. So you can kind of discount that at the moment. Although, let's face it, we do expect Perisic to be in the top 10, if not the top 3 or 4, don't we, over the season?
I'm going to make the prediction that he does not leave the top spot of XGI non-penalty per 90 all season.
Really? You're going out, ahead of Trent? You think
he'll be because I think he'll play less minutes, and when he's on the pitch, he'll be relentlessly attacking. So Trent will have spells where he's asked to maybe, I don't know, defend a bit towards the end of the game and see games out and stuff, and Perisic won't have that. So my prediction is number 1 Perisic, not necessarily the most points of all defenders, but XGI non-penalty per 90 top.
Well, we need more data, but at the top, these are players we expect to see there, right? Alexander-Arnold, right? We know. Cream of the cream. And maybe not at the moment. We'll talk about that in a minute. Sessegnon, we saw the Spurs wing backs. Sessegnon, Perisic, we expected them to be up there. Emerson Royale where's he? He's 18th on the list, so he's not that high, but we expect them to be in the top 10 maybe. So we expect whoever is right and left wing back to push up. But because of the rotation, we're going to see a lot of movement in that. Reece James, 5th, what we expected. 0.36 XGI non-penalty per 90. So even though Chelsea have started poorly, Reece James has still caught the eye to some extent, right? Are you happy holding him?
Yeah. I mean, I only just brought him in, so I can't exactly lose faith in him already. I think like we talked about Chelsea and their kind of struggles up front and everything like that, and the lack of creativity. You've got to play Reece James at right wing back. There is absolutely no defence for Tuchel when they're struggling to create chances and to get forward to not play your best player at right wing back. The whole centre back experiment just has to end with him, because you've just got to find a way to make
makes a massive difference to their attack as well, and they need him going forward. They need him.
Well, it's obvious. I mean, we saw last season when Chilwell and Reece James were out, exactly the same thing happened. They really struggled to break teams down, and they were so good before that, and they were good towards the end of the season when James came in, and they found a solution at left back with Alonso coming in and out. But there's just no excuse. Like they just have to play the right wing back. They lose way too much by not playing him there. But Koulibaly's out now, suspended
for one game, right?
For one game, so they're going to have to find another solution at centre back. So that's probably going to mean Reece James plays at centre back for that match. Yeah. But they really need Fofana. They really need a centre back.
But it's happening, right? It's Fofana has waved goodbye to Leicester. He's going, and Chelsea will find the bid, and he'll be there. And then James and Cucurella will be wing backs. Will there be rotation with Chilwell? Perhaps, but I think Cucurella looks strong in that role. I've got to say, I've been impressed with what I've seen. He's ranked 9th in this table, so 0.23. I'd expect the Chelsea wing-backs, like the Spurs wing-backs, to be right up there on this table over the course of the season, right?
Have you seen the... do you watch The Boys?
I don't. Okay. Just Columbo all the time.
Just Columbo. Well, there's if anyone watches The Boys, there's a meme of Homelander, who's like the main villain, and someone's saying to him, "Oh, you're just a cheap knockoff of me," and Homelander replies saying, "No, I'm the upgrade." And that's Cucurella. That's like Chilwell and Cucurella. Chilwell says, "Oh, you're not gonna play."
It's harsh on Chilwell.
Cucurella. Yeah. It is. I mean, I don't know if that's actually true. I don't think Cucurella is there to replace Chilwell, but at the moment, you can't drop him.
Yeah, you can't. And going back to the ticker, this is a ticker from Game Week 4 up to Game Week 16, which is the point we can refresh our teams with the unlimited transfers. Chelsea are 3rd on this ticker. The only red fixture is Liverpool at home. Other than that, and they've got United and Arsenal at home in 13 and 15. But their run is superb. Their run is the best amongst the elite teams, aren't they?
But it's horrible. It's a horrible thing, because this is where you want to see, okay, can I go a bit different with my pick here? Can I maybe go for a Sterling? Could I maybe go for a Chelsea?
There
double
isn't
up in
anything.
defence?
It's just the wing backs, right?
Oh, well, I've got Mount, and I want Rid. Like I haven't been impressed at all with what I've seen. But how can I sell Mount ahead of Leicester and Southampton? It's just so
No.
It's really hard to kind of get the courage to kind of do it, because I think those two games we could see Chelsea get something just because of how poor those two defences are.
Yeah.
But then I look around, I look at the 8 million bracket, I look at like Diaz, I look at like Kulusevski, I look at Foden, I look at Gundogan, and I just think these are all better options.
Yeah, I don't know if you sit on Mount, to be honest. I think it's difficult. Very difficult. It's like my situation with Saka. You know, I look at Saka and he could return. It could be his turn to get points. Odegaard got the double at Bournemouth. It could be Saka's turn this weekend. But look at the data. I'll show you in a minute, and you'll see why he's been disappointed. Let's talk about Trent, though. Let's look at Trent's data, because there's been some chatter this week about, do we get rid of Trent? Do we consider that? Given that Liverpool conceding goals, then it becomes all about the attacking returns. But I'll put this up now. This is a season compare. This is a comparison of Trent's data over the last 5 seasons. And actually, his shot per 90 and shot in the box per 90, and his open play crosses and his big chances created per 90 are the highest they've been so far over the last 5 seasons. So although we look at it and go, Liverpool aren't playing well, Trent is droppable, this data says, whoa, hold on. Hold your horses, right?
Yes. Yeah, it does. I mean, attacking wise, he got bonus the other week, didn't he, when they conceded? I think, did he get 2 bonus in that? Just because of the sheer amount of crosses he was putting in, the baseline, and the bonus loves players that kind of put crosses in. So I'm not too surprised. I mean, Elliott in the team, we know from last year before Elliott got injured that he is a big boost to Trent, because he drifts over to the right, lets him have more space, all that. So all the signs in that aspect are great. I think there is there's been talk about whether we should even be discussing like Trent and stuff. And I'm not here to say that people should sell him or anything like that, because I think generally, the fixtures are good for Liverpool, the stats are good, and it's only been 3 weeks. So I think that obviously the sensible thing is to hold. But I do think there is a discussion at least to be had. Well, how long do we give it with Liverpool playing the way they are, conceding chances, conceding goals, all their players not looking right? Because that's the big thing for me, is if the players just don't look right. I mean, I thought some of them don't even look fit. I thought Van Dijk...
I agree.
Van Dijk looks like he's got a bit of an injury or something, because he's not turning like we've seen him kind of before. I look at Henderson being patched up. I look at Fabinho. I mean, he was only on the bench because he literally had to be, because they've got literally no one else to kind of come on. So already you're 3 weeks in and thinking they don't look fit. And we've seen them in the past when they've had key injuries really, really struggle in defence. And I don't think Gomez is good enough. I don't think Phillips is good enough. We don't know how far away Konate is. So I think if you completely take away Trent's clean sheet potential, I think he's sellable. He has to get some clean sheets.
No. I kind of agree. But when you stick Darwin in, and when you stick the fact that he's putting in 7 open play crosses in per 90, the most he's ever done per 90 over the last 5 seasons, he's clearly being told, come inside, look for the crosses. I mean, with the idea that Darwin's going to be there, and he will be there in 2 games' time again. And he's also coming inside and shooting more often, as this data shows. Salah's been playing more out wide, and if anything, Salah's been attracting defenders and then laying it off to Trent. He's done it numerous times per match. I just think at the moment, because of the small sample as well, I think it's too risky. I don't think you can say. I mean, obviously defensively, Bournemouth, that's a clean sheet, surely, unless Bournemouth get them at a set piece. Well,
this is my point. My point is that the next 4 games, there should be at least 1, if not 2 clean sheets. Yeah, Bournemouth at home, Newcastle at home, Everton away, Wolves at home. Bournemouth, Everton, and
Wolves. There's 2 clean sheets there at least, I would say. Bournemouth and Wolves.
You would think there would be. But I would also have thought there'd have been a clean sheet in one of Fulham, Crystal Palace and United.
Yeah, true.
And there hasn't been. So if they play Bournemouth, Newcastle and Everton, and we get to game week 6 and Liverpool have no clean sheets whatsoever, and then they're going into Wolves, Chelsea, Brighton, Arsenal, City, I think there is a case to sell him.
He's too elite.
It depends on kind of what happens over those games. I want to see Liverpool tighten up.
Okay, going back to defenders again, a player that I'm looking at that I think I need to sell to do what I want to do. 38 there on the table, 0.09 XGI non-penalty per 90 is Cancelo. Now, although City have kept clean sheets, there are cheaper options in that City defence, namely Walker, namely Ake. Ake's got an injury, but Walker's there still. And if we bring up Cancelo's season compare over the last 4 seasons since he's been in the Premier League, at the moment, small data sample, I know you're screaming about it, but in terms of open play crosses and shots, he is well down on previous seasons and certainly well down on last season. His XG on penalty at the moment, 0.09. Last season was 0.33. The season before that, 0.28. The role he's playing, where he's inverted and more involved in the midfield play, is meaning that he's just not getting into positions to provide that width. And his open play crosses, as you can see, gone down to 2 per 90 when it was a 3.3 last season. I think he still will get assists, but I don't see him getting the 11 assists that he got last season. What do you think on Cancelo?
Yeah, I think if the rest of the City defence was really well, if you had a solid, settled centre-back partnership, I mean, Diaz didn't play, did he, in the last game?
No, he came on, yeah.
Ake's got a bit of an injury. Stones hasn't really looked up to it so far. Laporte's due to come back. I want to kind of avoid that because I just don't really know who's going to play and what the first choice is even this season. And I just don't like Walker. I just don't really like him that much.
I mean, Cancelo's a much better player, and I love watching Cancelo. But I look at it and I think the 2 million difference, and I've run it through the models, and the models say don't have Cancelo, so it's optimum not to have him at the moment. It seems right. So it's a reluctant sell like Son, but I think I need to do it to get the money out at the moment. It's, for me, Trent down. It's dangerous because of what Trent can do in attacking terms, regardless of the clean sheet. Whereas Cancelo to Walker, the clean sheet is there because Walker plays at the moment. I don't see Walker getting dropped. He had a miserable game against Newcastle, but I don't think Gomez is ready yet. And even when he does get dropped, there could be Ake there, there could be Stones there, so we can adapt. Cancelo at the moment, on a very small sample I give you, it's suggesting he's going to struggle to hit the heights of last season, and therefore does he warrant the outlay?
He's just got an assist against Barcelona.
I mean, he will. Well, yeah, in a charity game.
Just typical.
But he will. He's playing well. I think he's playing brilliantly.
Well, I would. My counterpoint was right now I would rather have Cancelo than Trent. Because I wouldn't touch any of the other Man City defenders. And I just think City with those home games, I want to have the best City defender who I know is going to play every minute of those matches.
Where's Walker not going to play?
Well,
Gomez surely can't start in that inverted role yet. Can't be ready, can he?
No, I don't know. But I mean, what happens if Walker gets torn apart by Zaha at the weekend?
Yeah, but again, yeah, he might. But who are they going to put in instead?
Well, they can move Cancelo over to right back
and then play Gomez,
play Ake or play Ake and Stones at left back.
If Ake's fit, I mean, if Ake's fit, I probably will move to Ake, right? Because there is a chance that Walker could, when Gomez is ready, will get dropped.
I don't think Walker plays 90 minutes every match. I think they'll find solutions of ways to not play him because he's lost it. He's lost it quite a lot.
Well, to be fair to him, he's not a midfield player, whereas Cancelo can slot in there. Walker is a bit out of his depth in this role. There's no question.
He absolutely is. Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't be looking to sell Cancelo personally. I mean, I also wouldn't really be looking to sell Trent, but I just don't personally think that Walker can cover Cancelo, and I don't like the other options. So it's not for me.
No, I get it. I just don't know how forthcoming the attacking returns are going to be from Cancelo. He has got 4 bonus points, right, because of his level of involvement. So I think I will lose out on bonus points. It's a trade-off. I've got to look at it, but Optimum says sell him.
You're going to go from selling, not having Jesus and Salah to not having Cancelo and.
Yeah, well, it does. You're trying
to. I don't know. You're trying to give me a heart attack on these streams.
Okay, let's look at midfielders now. Interesting names at the top. Buendia, 148 minutes, 0.94 XGI non-penalty per 90. Obviously,
I'm sure that's sustainable.
Not guaranteed to start. Definitely not sustainable. But started ahead of Coutinho at the weekend, and so Gerrard's team sheet has been so hard to predict. I don't think Buendia is going to be a factor in our season. Not yet, anyway. And I still don't think. Rodrigo. Talk to me about Rodrigo. 0.86 XGI non-penalty, 4 goals, 1 assist, 4.9 shots per 90, more than any other midfielder, probably more than any other player. We'll look at the forwards in a minute. What's your verdict on Rodrigo?
What is going on? That's my verdict on Rodrigo. What is happening? I listened to Seb did a great analysis on the Scoutcast about Leeds in general.
I saw that. Yeah,
he's not completely sold on the fact that Rodrigo is his first choice.
No.
I mean, there was some comments from March which very much indicated that he was. I think he said, he's the captain and he's the penalty taker and he's established and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, while he's banging in goals, of course he's going to be starting and in the team. But there is that kind of worry that if this does revert back to what we've seen from him in previous seasons, then he could be out. So I guess that's the decision you make if you buy him. You think, okay, is this sustainable? Is this 30.8% conversion rate?
It's not sustainable. There's no way it's sustainable. I'm not arguing that. But at the same time, FPL is often about jumping on the value options when they emerge and jumping on them early. He's about to have a second price rise this week. So he's about to go to 6.3, I believe. Right. So he is accelerating away. And the data here, if you look at it, the accuracy and conversion, the 46.2 and 30.8, when you look at his previous season, his accuracy is pretty good. His accuracy is normally around the high 30s, right? So his shot accuracy is good. But his conversion rate previously was 12.8, 15.2. It's 30.8. It's double the conversion rate. There's no way it's sustainable. His XGI non-penalty per 90, 0.86 compared to 0.26 last season, 0.55 the season before that. That will come down. So it's no way it's sustainable. But if he is having 7 touches in the box per match, if he is having 4 to 5 shots per match, he's going to be a decent, and he's on penalties while Bamford is out. It's difficult to ignore at the moment.
Well, he's going to be a player that I ignore because I'm not going to move Mount down to Rodrigo and bank the money because I'd go for one of the 8 million mids or have Gundogan, and I have no other real way of getting it. But I look at the fixtures of Leeds. I think if you're going to move them, you move now. Brighton, Everton, Brentford, Forest. Great 4 games. You're going to catch all these price rises as well if you move, which can help you later down the line. He's the man in form. Leeds have got confidence. He's playing well. I can't really make a case against him. All I will say is that I still have my doubts about Leeds generally this season under Marsh, and I have my doubts about Rodrigo as a decent Premier League player. They're my concerns, and I am biased probably on previous season. I think if this is your first season watching the Premier League and you've watched the first couple of games, you think, oh my God, Leeds are amazing, really attacking. This Rodrigo guy, he's elite. But I know that he's not, and I know that Leeds aren't really that great either. So I'm a bit more hesitant.
I'm with you. I don't think it's sustainable, but for the here and now, and I'm playing my wild card, I've got to get on it.
You've got to. You've got to go from a wild card. If you've got the money to move from Neto up to a 6 million-ish midfielder, he's clearly the standout pick to go for over Gross, for example, that some people are doing. I think if there's some people asking about Mount replacements and stuff, I don't think there's anything wrong with going down from Mount to Rodrigo and catching these price rises, especially if it means you can use the money to upgrade someone like Sanchez, someone like Ward up to a Sanchez or even an Edison. You could go up to. So all we're thinking about. There's no real negatives about him. I just can't see this. I just can't see this carrying on for that long, personally.
De Bruyne on 0.78 XGI non-penalty. Really good start to the season for him. 1 goal, 3 assists, 3 shots per 90. Chance created per 90 of 4.04. Really, really strong. If we look at his season data over the last 5 seasons, he's not up by that much. It's only really his shot accuracy, which is the best over the last 5 seasons. His XGI non-penalty is up, though. 0.78 is the highest it's been for 5 seasons. 0.56 last season, 0.59 the season before that. In season 19-20, his best 0.66 was the best until these 3 matches. It is only 3 games, but the signs are good that KDB is performing at a level where he warrants that heavy hitter status, and he could rival Salah.
I really like this. I just really like this chart. Having kind of started with him because the accuracy is 44.4%, but he has historically a pretty good accuracy around 35-40% anyway. It's his conversion that's down. I mean, last year it was 20%. Okay, the season before that was only 7.5, but before that it was 13. I mean, it is a kind of a bit of a mixed bag, but it tells me that a conversion rate of probably high around 15% probably isn't unachievable for someone of his quality. He's got more assist potential now. Haaland's in the side because he's got someone to finish off the chances. I really like the role he's playing. We're interlinking with Gundogan and getting forward and dropping back, and that is just working so well. He drifts over to the right and puts the crosses in. And the XGI non-penalty per 90 of 0.78, I mean, that is massive. That is so high.
It's strong
across these first 3 games. So he's going to continue to fly under the radar, I think, because people are going to stick with Salah and Haaland. And I'm more confident now than I was a couple of weeks ago that De Bruyne can match or even outscore Haaland when the Champions League kicks in.
Oh, well, let's look at the other heavy hitters in the bracket. Let's look at Son. And this is, again, perhaps by my decision to wildcard, he is up for shots per 90 and shots per in the box per 90 on last season. All of his shots this season have been in the box, 3.33 shots per 90. So the shot volume has gone up, which is what I hoped for. But basically the conversion rate is 0 at the moment. His accuracy is below what it was. I mean, his accuracy and conversion rate last season, 55% accuracy, 26% conversion. The season before, 52 accuracy, 25 conversion. So he's done it for 2 consecutive seasons. He's just not done it yet this season. But it will come, won't it? I mean, look at those last 2 seasons. Incredible, isn't it?
There was an interesting debate earlier about whether we should use kind of goals and points in any kind of decision making for our players. And one of the questions that was asked was, if a player goes 10 games without scoring a goal, but has really good underlying stats. So let's say,
Salah did it for the second half last season. He went a while without scoring,
yeah. And this is where we're kind of at with Son, right? The underlying stats are still pretty decent, but he's had no goals. How long do you give it before you?
Well, this is it.
Player? Or would some people look at this data and think, okay, Son's actually just been really unlucky. I like these stats. I'm going to buy him. I'm going to get him in and try and hit that first haul.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but the trouble is, when do I do it? It's been 3 games. He is playing poorly. I mean, the eye test and the opinion of his performances is low at the moment. Spurs fans don't rate his performances. They're calling for Richarlison to start. I watched the game with him as captain, so I watched and scrutinised everything he did. His first touch was off. He was snatching opportunities. He had chances. He had really good chances. He hit the post. He was through 1-on-1. Something is missing. And whether it's just variance and the ball's not dropping for him, and it will at Forest and he'll get the hat-trick. I know, exactly, and it could be, but it's like you say, when do you call it quits? 3 games probably isn't enough, but other factors have, compounded the fact I've played the wild card. But his XGI non-penalty per 90 of 0.47 is down on 0.64 of last season, but it's pretty much his average over the other seasons, 0.41 in 2021, 0.46 in 1920. So his XGI non-penalty per 90 is at the level we probably can expect. Last season was an outlier, perhaps. But how long do you leave it? Very, very tough, isn't it?
It is, but I just can't see Son getting 20 plus goals this season.
You don't see it?
And
don't know.
Maybe I'm getting a bit carried away by the.
I think you are. I think he will get. He could get 20 goals.
But the reason why I'm saying he's not going to get 20 goals is because of Richarlison, and it is those X-Mins.
Right. Maybe, yeah.
It's not really to do with the fact that I think he's a worse player and he's suddenly never going to score a goal for Spurs again. But I think you have to look at it from the lens of that was an absolutely incredible season that he had last year, and he's going to have to hit those heights like almost every game to get.
And I was backing him to do that.
Yeah,
that's the trouble.
I just think with Richarlison there, and Richarlison is a top quality Brazilian international who's not going to. He will take his chances when he gets on the pitch. I think I can't see both of them just being out of form for the whole season. So it's going to eat into his minutes. And from an FPL perspective, 12 million with that hanging around him.
Exactly. And the other thing is that the Kane-Son relationship, it looks different. Kane looks to be dwelling a bit more in the box, spending more time in the box, and the link-up's not quite as there. There aren't the opportunities that have been there in previous seasons. Last season, 0.9 big chances per 90 must have been a big factor in the fact that he returned 23 goals. So far this season, 0.3 big chances per 90. Small sample, I'll say it again, but that's the other thing. I haven't seen those frequent good opportunities for Son yet. And the link up with Kane looks a bit different. The dynamic looks a bit different, but it's only been 3 games. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It'll come. I mean, I'm still expecting him to get, I'm still expecting him to get 15 goals this season, but for 12 million, is that enough?
Yeah,
I don't think it is, especially when you take away the reliability of the captaincy.
Yeah, hold that thought. Now we're looking at Mo Salah. Look at the data so far compared to last season. He's down on everything apart from chances created. He has created 4.3 chances per 90, double what he created last season. He made 2.02 chances per 90 last season. He's also made more crosses. Open play crosses per 90, 1.6 compared to 1.3 last season. So he's crossing more and he's creating more chances. Darwin, maybe a change of role to some extent, maybe. But the key thing is his touches in the box per 90 are down. His shot in the box per 90 are down. His shot in the box per 90 are down, and his overall big chances are down. Everything is down, right, at the moment. It's only 3 games again, but it's down, right? But Liverpool are playing badly. So is the premise that, okay, when Liverpool start playing well, we'll get more out of Salah? Presumably, yes. It's very early days. But do you think there's anything in here yet? Do you think there's any indication here?
I mean, the encouraging thing is, I mean, his XGI non-penalty per 90 is 0.62.
Still strong.
And in the season when he got 28 attacking returns, it was 0.63. So I always look at 0. For some reason, I don't know what it is. It's, the stats guys will probably tell me I'm completely off. But I look at 0.6 and I think if I've got any of my players with 0.6 or higher, I'm fine with that. That's the kind of the high. I think 0.6 is a great metric because it's like you're going to get something from them, more than once every couple of games. Which I really like. I mean, 0.86 is just absolutely ludicrous across 30 starts. Absolutely crazy. So, 0.6 would be kind of nestled in that. I mean, in the season when he got, 29 attacking returns, it was 0.74. And before that's 0.73. I mean, he's just consistently kind of absolutely crazy. But 0.62 isn't panic stations for me.
No, I agree. It's just the chances created and the open play crosses is quite interesting. That does point at he's passing more and he's setting up teammates more at the moment. That's what I look at and think that's a bit odd because it's double any previous season. Like, look at the chances created in previous season: 2.0 last season, 1.61, 1.87, and 1.88. It's double every other season. So he is setting up teammates more at the moment after 3 games. But
I've got a narrative for you.
Go on then. Go and weave it.
Manny's left, and they hated each other, so they were all about individual glory. And now Manny's gone.
Love
Salah's
it.
become a team player. There you go.
Love the narrative. Okay, let's look at another player. Let's go back to the midfield
Can
table.
I just say quickly, we've got 2,590 people watching live, which is amazing.
It's a record for the stream, I think, other than a Match of the Day stream. I think so, yeah.
Wow, absolutely incredible. So, thank you all for watching. Do give us a like. Do drop us a comment in the chat as well if you're watching, and do make sure you're subscribed to the channel as we push on to our next suit wearing of
to the 30,000 subs. Come on, we can make it. I want to talk about Zaha. He's 5th in the table, 0.66 XGI non-penalty per 90. He's a player you know and love, of course. He's playing a central attacking role for Palace, and we look at his data versus his last 5 seasons, as we've done for other players tonight. And look at that. Look how much green is on this season so far. Everything is up. Yes, his conversion rate is 28.6, which is very high, although he did hit 24.1 in 2021. But what's key for me is the touches in the box are double what they've been in previous season. Shot per 90 is higher than previous seasons. Only a little bit up on last season, to be honest. But his XGI non-penalties, 0.53, down on last season, actually. So some of the data was more favourable last season. But touches in the box, that kind of indicates his role that he's playing. He's getting into the box more. He's more of a threat to teams. He should convert more, right? And also, I think Palace have a little bit more about them attacking terms this season.
Oh, they do. I think they're a great team. And, my dad's probably listening, and he's probably... Actually, my dad doesn't mind Palace. I think he's got some respect for them because I think they beat Cardiff a few years ago. And if they'd lost that match... I think Cardiff would have stayed up or something like that or been close. So my dad isn't actually a huge basher of Palace, but I will give them praise because I think I've said time and time again, it's obvious what an amazing job Vieira's done there. But I just look at their squad and the defence is boring, so boring. Gone are the days of Van Aanholt and all that kind of thing. But the midfield is such an exciting midfield with Elise. I like Hughes is barely playing, but I like him as well. And then up front, they've got, Mateta, who is kind of a solid and like quite dependable striker when he kind of gets the minutes. But then they've got Zaha as well. Like they've got loads of players in that side who can kind of like turn a game on its head and can excite. And they're not just like this solid team that are just going to grind out 1-0 wins anymore. So I really like him. It's just the fixtures are bad. I mean, City away, Newcastle away in 6. Brighton away in 8th. I mean, none of those are particularly easy.
Yeah.
United, we haven't really talked about United yet, and I've got to give them some praise so people don't keep saying how much I hate them, which I don't. But yeah, I look at that and I think if I'm going to invest in Zaha, it's probably going to be a bit later in the season. I still don't think there's a huge need to bring him in.
The thing is, for me, he's very good on the counter attack, and I think against United, even at teams like Newcastle, Palace look like they're going to be a threat. And Eze's playing well, and Elise's yet to come in. I think they've got a bit about him in attacking terms. So because he's on pens as well, 7 million. I think again, it's like Rodrigo. I think when I'm wildcarding, I've got to get on, I think. I mean, did you see Vieira said that he's targeting 20 goals this season?
Yeah, I mean, he got 14 goals last season, 11 before that. And then his previous seasons have not been that impressive. I mean, 4 goals, 10, 9, 7. I mean, okay, now he's now playing in that kind of central kind of striker role. The pens are interesting because I don't trust him from pens at all. His record isn't bad, actually. It's better than I thought it was. He's missed 3 out of 10 and scored 7.
Still not great.
I thought it was worse than that. I thought he'd missed... I thought he had more of like a 50-50. But even when I watch him like run up to the ball, I still don't think he's... Because it's funny because he can look so confident in a match. Like the goal he took against Liverpool was so well taken.
I think he's easy to read when he runs up.
Yeah, he is. I don't think he's kind of got that, like, he just looks where he's going to hit it and just hits it there and then the cut keeps... I don't know. It's a bit of a story. But I mean, his record isn't awful. I do like him. I do like him as a player. I've owned him before and he's one of those troll type players who... You get him in and you think it's going to go well and he's got pens and stuff and he goes on a bit of a run of not really getting anything. I mean, his assists have been quite poor, for quite a few seasons now. I mean, 2 assists last year, 4 the year before that, 6 the year before that. So you are kind of relying on those goals with him. I think he can get them. I don't know. I think he's a good option. At 7 million, I think he's a good option, but I don't think he's like a game-breaking option yet.
I don't know. When you see a manager talk about a midfielder targeting 20 goals a season and he's playing up front and he's on pens and he's taking his goals well and he's in a team that can counter-attack and he's in a team that have got good attacking players, I think it's really... I mean, you can see where I'm going, right? I couldn't not get him, I don't think.
I can't believe he's still there.
No, he's never got his move, did he? There's
no rumours anymore, is there? There just seems to be...
And fair play to him. Like, he has thrown himself into it, and Vieira's arrival has made the project more attractive for him, and quite rightly. I mean, I think him and Eze. I think Eze is a special player as well. Eze is in 25th on this table, but he's been really impressive. 0.37 XGI non-penalty per 90. With Palace with better fixtures, you'd look at Eze, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I think Zaha would be the limit.
Zaha's a standout.
Yeah. No, I think so. Just one word on Trossard before we go off midfielders, because you've got a new left wing back now. So Trossard will presumably move to a different role. Even at left wing back, he's on this table in 14th. And in terms of shot per 90 and shot in the box per 90, he's in the top 10 for midfielders so far. Hand it over to you. Absolutely no end product?
Yeah. I mean, he is what he is. I still don't think he has got much end product. Right. To be fair, I rate him so highly as a player, though. I still think he's the best player in our side. The problem is his price. I mean, if he was 6, I think there's a real case for him. You'd be looking at him and looking at Rodrigo and looking at Gross and thinking, okay, he's someone that can kind of fit into this. But at 6.5, I just think Rodrigo's better, and I think I'd rather save the money and go for Gross. I think Gross is up to 5.7 now, so you're still saving kind of 0.8. What is interesting with Gross is he hasn't got penalties. Like we kind of mentioned.
McAllister's got them.
I was a bit surprised at that, but not totally surprised. But yeah, McAllister's got them. So with Trossard, you're kind of relying on open play stuff because he hasn't really got the set plays anymore. He hasn't really got the penalties. He could be playing at left wing back. I'm not sure if this new Ecuadorian guy's quite ready to fit straight into the side.
Good player he is. He's a good player. I'll tell you that because Forest were after him and I did some scouting for him.
Oh, nice. Okay. I know Watford fans aren't a big fan of him because he was there, wasn't he? And I think he threw his toys out the pram about a move or refused to play or something like that. Few people comment on it. Yeah, I like Trossard. Again, I don't think he's a terrible option. His XGI non-pen is good at 0.47. I just think at 6.5, I'd rather have Rodrigo, Martinelli, Gross.
Harrison over Rodrigo. He is second only to De Bruyne and Salah. Salah has created more chances than any other midfielder so far, which is interesting. But Harrison, 3.8 chances created per 90 at the moment. He's been outstanding start to the season. 1 goal, 3 assists. but is Rodrigo still the edge for you because of the goals, or would you look at Harrison as well?
If Rodrigo's on pens like we think he is, then I think he is. If you take that away, I'd go for Harrison.
Yeah,
I really like Harrison. Actually, I really like his. I was a bit upset last year with his season because I think he got a hat trick in one game, but other than that, he really didn't build on the season before when he was absolutely electric. So I'd like to see him, back to that, and I think he could be an impact for us.
Yeah.
I think six again is a good price for him, and especially if Rodrigo does end up losing his place and Bamford comes in and stuff, then I think Harrison will be the one that we get.
Okay. Quickly on to forwards, not too much to talk about here. Nunez at the top in terms of XG on penalty per 90 at 1.35. Then it's the players we've mentioned tonight. Jesus 0.80, Haaland on 0.80 as well, and Kane just behind on 0.63. In between that, Watkins 0.76. Who's surprised? I mean, Watkins, it's just Villa though. We're not going to go there, are we? We're not going to go there for 7-4.
God, no, absolutely not. No, there's, if we had no strikers to consider, maybe we would. But we've got options. Like you mentioned them: Nunez, Jesus, Kane, Mitrovic, Tony. These are all far better options than Watkins, just given how Villa play. I mean, I like Watkins. I think he's a really good player, and wasn't surprised to see him score, in the last game. But Villa's fixtures aren't good. There's problems there as well. I think Gerrard could be in trouble if things don't turn around fairly quickly.
Yeah. Mitrovic is a standout for me, but the fixtures are poor, and the reason why I'm going Tony, if you look at the fixture ticker over from 4 to 16, this is the Fantasy Football Scout ticker I should mention. Brentford's fixture is very strong. Just Chelsea at home, City away, but City away is not until game week 16. I will look at Mitrovic in a bit, but at the moment, Arsenal, Brighton, Spurs, Chelsea, the next 4 for Fulham. Quite a difficult run, a very difficult run for Mitrovic. Gets better after that, but I think Tony's the one at the moment with Everton, Palace, Leeds, Southampton. Apart from the Palace game, those 3 of the next 4 very strong for Tony, right?
Yes.
You sound worried about that.
Well, I was debating this. I think the Tony Mitrovic conundrum on a wild card is a really, really interesting one, because when I watched the highlights of the Fulham Brentford game, but we talk about it loads about how Fulham are so set up and geared up for
Mitrovic.
But oh my god, that game! I mean, if any game could showcase just how Mitrovic plays in that side, it's that one, because the crosses coming in over and over and over again. I mean, Tony has got players around him that can step up. They're getting goals from set pieces. He's playing in Mbomo. They've got Damsgaard coming at this number 10, and he's happy to drop deep and all this kind of stuff. And that's the only thing that worries me a little bit with him. But the fixtures are so good. I think I would still lean towards Tony. But I tell you, when those fixtures turn for Fulham,
totally,
Mitrovic,
exactly. It means so.
No doubt.
Look at it: 5 shots per 90, 4.6 shots in the box per 90. So all these chances are in the box because they're mainly headers. Let's face it. So compared to Tony, he's 1.6 shots per 90. Nowhere near Mitrovic's level. But Everton at home is a very strong fixture. So I think I want him for that game, and he's on penalties as well, of course. So I think it's only the fixtures that make me go Tony at the moment. But Tony down to Mitrovic will be a move I think that many managers will make soon.
But the forwards are back already.
Yeah,
we did a whole podcast about them. There's 4 really, isn't there? Because you've got Haaland and Jesus, the absolute givens, and then you're having to choose one out of Tony and Mitrovic, when ideally you'd probably want all 4.
And you don't consider Kane at all? Okay, interesting.
And Kane, I should consider Kane. Yeah, I guess I'm kind of writing him off just because I think he's not in the premiums that I would select. I would still have Salah, I'd still have Haaland, I'd still have De Bruyne over Kane. But I mean, he is an option, of course. So that's five forwards. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get on to we're running. Well, we've done an hour and a half already. Where this could be anything. Let's do a predictions really.
Talk about your wild card. Yeah.
No. Predictions really quickly then. Current stands in the predictions. Miserable week for me. 3 outcomes correct. You didn't do much better. 3 outcomes correct and 1 correct score. You got the Arsenal Bournemouth 3-0 correct. We are locked on 47% each. 14 correct outcomes, but you are decimating me on correct scores, 6-2. So the roles are reversed. You're getting the correct scores this season. Interesting.
I'm happy with that. I might start playing Super 6 and all those games, although 20% won't win me anything, so I might not bother.
No, and these are the predictions for game week 4. And what's interesting, for the first time, I filled mine in, and then I phoned you and said, "Can you give me them over the phone?" And you didn't see what I predicted. and you were consistently giving the same scores as me. We've both gone 2-1 United win at Southampton. Do you want to give a bit more credit to United for all those people who think you hate United?
Yeah. And I will say, when you send me those predictions, the first thing I do is hide your column.
I know, well, I normally hide it before you see. Yeah.
Because I don't want to be influenced by it. But yeah, it was interesting over the phone. But you're like, I predicted that. that. I want to give massive credit to United. I'm sure they care so much.
They did everything I said they needed to do, didn't they?
Yeah.
I sat here last week and I said they need to be in their face. They need to be capitalising on the injuries. They need to stop playing it out the back. De Gea needs to kick it long. They did all of that. He must have been watching Ten Hag.
I don't think Ten Hag listened to BlackBox, and he was galvanised by my comments, and he heard your tactics, and that's kind of it. Right. No, I mean, it's let's not do a whole podcast on United. We haven't mentioned them yet. I haven't mentioned them so far, but I mean, there's ways to hurt Liverpool, and there's ways to play with that United team. And the ways to play with that United team are quick, counter-attacking, stop messing around playing the short ball and get it long, and press them and force them into mistakes. And they did that, and it was a great game plan. But I don't think Ten Hag is like a tactical mastermind for doing it, because it's bloody obvious.
But he did well. He did well with the sub. He did well moving Rashford over to run at Trent, who was booked. I think he made some good calls. So he's gone up massively in my estimation. I thought he was already out of his depth, but no.
He has gone up in my estimation, and I was amazed with the level of performance that he managed to get out of those players. But he got them playing the basic way to beat Liverpool, and they just execute the game plan flawlessly, which I genuinely didn't think those players were capable of. I mean, it's the best game I've seen Fernandes have in like a year and a half. Rashford was pressing. He looks fit again. When he hasn't before, he was pressing really high up the pitch. Martial's going to come in. I mean, there's no way back for Ronaldo, Maguire.
No.
Into this side.
No.
Absolutely
can't
no
see
way.
it. Not at the moment.
No. So yeah, impressive. The key thing though is you can't get much of a difference between going from Liverpool to Southampton, because Southampton is a game they 100% should be winning.
Yeah,
and they have to win this game. All the momentum's gone. So. I'm going to back them to do it. I think they've got the wind in their sails now.
We've both gone 2-1 there. Brentford, Everton, you've gone 1-0. I've gone 2-0. Brighton, Leeds, we've both backed to 2-1 win for Brighton. It'll be a tight game. Brighton always do well against Leeds, though. This is interesting. Chelsea, Leicester, you've gone 3-3, and I've gone 4-1 Chelsea. What the? Yeah, what are you thinking here? 3-3?
Yeah,
really? Chelsea's defence that bad?
Well, Koulibaly's out.
Yeah.
And I think Chelsea are going to have to turn it around off that last game. Now, do I think Chelsea are capable of scoring 3 goals? Unlikely. But do I think Leicester are capable of conceding 3 goals? Yes, probably. And I kind of just think this is just going to be a boxing free-for-all of just 2 teams just going at it hammer and tongs. So, yeah.
I've gone 4-1. I think Chelsea will win convincingly.
4-1.
I think Leicester are poor. They offer stuff in attack, but in defence they're so open, and I think Sterling could come in here. Liverpool, Bournemouth, both gone 2-0. Not too much to say about that. I think it will be a fairly routine win unless Bournemouth get a set piece. People might say, well, they're going to get a reaction. Liverpool going to rout them. I don't know. I don't know if they got it in them. He needs to freshen it up, and he hasn't got the players to do it. City, Palace, we've both gone 2-1. I guess we both like Palace on the break here, right?
I like Zaha against Walker. Yeah, absolutely. I think they'll get a couple of chances, just whether they can take it.
Yeah. Arsenal, Fulham, both gone 3-1. This is ridiculous. But I think that's right. I think Ramsdale has got a mistake in him, hasn't he? I mean, he's been a bit shy. I mean, when you own a player, you watch him closely. And Ramsdale's given me the jitters. And I think he could make another mistake and Fulham could get a goal here quite easily.
They'll struggle against Mitrovic.
You think?
They really will. He's going to cause them all kinds of problems. And I do like that Saliba and Gabriel partnership.
Yeah.
But I think Mitrovic is just going to be. I think there's going to be few games in which I don't back Fulham to score a goal, actually, because I think the way they've got that team set up is going to be hard for a lot of teams to deal with.
Okay. Villa 1-1. You've gone Villa West Ham. I've gone 2-0 West Ham. West Ham are too good not to win a game. They've gone 3 games without a win, 3 games without scoring a goal. It's going to come. Villa are shaky. They're not consistent. And I think West Ham will have too much for them here. Wolves, Newcastle, both gone on a away win. Wilson out, of course, but I do think Newcastle have a bit
Isak coming in. It's exciting, isn't
it? Yeah, looks good, doesn't he? 6'4", pacey, can dribble, decent player.
What do you reckon he comes in at? 7'5"?
Yeah,
same as Wilson.
5, 7. Yeah, he's got to be the same as Wilson, isn't he?
6'5". They'll make him 7'5". I think.
So I reckon 7. Forest Spurs. I've gone 3-1 as the Forest fan. 3-1 to Spurs, that is. And as the non-Forest fan, you've gone 1-0 Forest.
Woo!
Talk to me about that. Where is that coming from?
Like I said, I just haven't been that impressed with Spurs, and I was really impressed with Forest at home when I saw them, a few weeks ago. So I think there's still some early season momentum for a lot of these promoted clubs. I think your signings are kind of bedding in, and there's a bit of a buzz around the club at the moment, and I don't think it's a terrible time to play Spurs. So
We will give them a game.
On any underlying stats, but I think it's a good time to play Spurs, and it's probably quite a difficult time to play Forest at home.
I think we'll give them a game. I think we could nick a goal, but our defence without Nikati will be vulnerable. I think we're conceding chances, and it's Son and Kane. Son and Kane to blank against Forest. Just can't see it. By the way, 2,700 in the stream at the moment watching this, which is fantastic. Thank you for joining us for this. Hope you're enjoying it, and if you are, hit the like, hit the subscribe. We're now going to look at the Captain Matrix. The Captain Matrix is where we look ahead to the game weeks and look at who do we want to pick as captains? Are there options? What game weeks are going to be problematic? Salah at home to Bournemouth, we'll talk about in a minute. Many people thinking it's a no-brainer. It probably is, because it's a home win, surely. And in a home win, Salah surely gets something. So he's probably, he is the most reliable scorer this game week, I would say. But Jesus against Fulham. Jesus is becoming an option now that we've got to consider alongside the likes of Haaland, Salah, etc., isn't he?
I'm not totally sold on Salah this week.
Are you not?
I'm on Jesus, not on Salah.
You're not on Salah?
Well, I look at City when they played Bournemouth, and Bournemouth put up a fight in that game, more than anyone was kind of expecting. And in the end, they got done because they got unlocked by key creative midfield players. Gundogan, Haaland holding the ball up, De Bruyne just being incredible. Liverpool just don't have that. They don't have that penetration to get through, really, and they're going to be so reliant on crosses from Trent and Salah apparently crossing more and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I went for a 2-0, a 2-0 Liverpool.
Yeah, so was I. Yeah. We'll look at the captain data in a minute for this week, but going forward, Haaland at home to Forest in game week 5. You got Salah at home to Newcastle. That's a tough game for Salah, I think. Then you got Jesus at home to Villa, which probably is the next best option after a City player. I probably will go De Bruyne. Then in game week 6, Salah away at Everton, Haaland away at Villa, Kane and Son at home to Fulham. Quite a few options there, I would say. Game week 7, Jesus looks good for me. Salah's at home to Wolves, but Wolves defensively look okay, and they'll have plenty of possession, I think, at Anfield. Everton going to the Emirates, I think Jesus looks a great option there. And then in game week 8, I think it is Spurs, because they're at home to Leicester, and it's Kane or Son, I think, because Haaland's at Wolves, Salah's at Chelsea. So I think, a Spurs option has it in game week 8. So that's just worth thinking about and planning. If we look at game week 4, a bit more on that. When you look at the XGI non-penalty per 90 at the moment, 3 games, small sample, I'll say it for the 10th time tonight, 0.80, Jesus and Haaland tied. It looks like Jesus, is a good option. But if you look at the defensive data for Fulham, 1.31 XG non-penalty conceded. I've just realised I've not sorted that column, but they're only. It's not bad, is it? It's not terrible in terms of XG non-penalty conceded per 90 compared to the likes of Forest and Leicester. That little bit more. Forest 1.57 is the worst defence on show here amongst the captain candidates. So perhaps I do expect Son and Kane to get something, and Chelsea in that Leicester game against the Leicester defence. Leicester defence who are giving up more than 3 big chances per game. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, surely if they give Chelsea 3 big chances, there's going to be goals, right?
Went for three goals. Oh, it's not why I went for 3 goals. I didn't see this stat, but it's ridiculous. I mean, Mount captain.
But again,
can I sell him?
Sell
him with this data though?
You look down, and Fulham are giving up 3 big chances per 90 as well. But I guess the Liverpool game skewed it a little bit. Maybe it's hard to put any stock in data at this stage, but
one thing I do know is that Jesus has been unlucky not to get more points than he has done. Yes.
And you've got to think, if Arsenal win, he returns, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's getting to the point where he's almost being considered as reliable as Salah. It's too early, isn't it, to say that?
He's got to be an option, though. He can't be treated as an 8 million striker playing for an average team. He's playing for one of the best attacking side in the league, and he's playing like a premium player. So I think you've got to at least consider him. I'm probably going to still go Salah, but
yeah, and the majority will.
Jesus is definitely an option.
So who do you think I'll go captain?
Well, I haven't seen your wildcard team yet.
Well, there it is at the moment.
Whoa!
I say at the moment, right?
Whoa.
I say at the moment. I'm not predicting a very good game week for me because I've had to get on the bandwagons. I think playing the wildcard and not going Rodrigo Zaha with the rises that they've been having, they're both going to rise 0-2 this week. I would have thought. Certainly Rodrigo has on Will tonight. I don't know if Zaha will get the 0-2, but they've both gone up in price. So I think that 2,800 normally. See, the wild card has brought them in. So I've gone Rodrigo and Zaha, who neither of them are going to start this week because Rodrigo's at Brighton, Zaha's at City. I don't think I'll start them, which means I'll go the 5 at the back. I've had to get on Perisic as well. I think if you're wild carding, you go Perisic because he just is going to produce when he's starting. And even when off the bench, he could produce. And I expect him to start at Forest. I don't think he'll start midweek. So I'm playing 5-2-3. And yes, I've got benching headaches. I'm sure people are looking at it and going, your bench is too strong. But the reason why I've gone with that, to start with, is I think we're going to see some rotation in midweek. And I think we're going to see some rotation from that point on with the European games amongst City, Liverpool, Chelsea, right? And with that in mind, I've got Perisic, I've got Cucurella, I've got potentially Martinelli, I've got potentially Walker, who could get rotated in and out. So I think I need to have 1 or 2 players on the bench that I want to play. And I don't mean Andreas, I mean actually want to play, if when the fixtures are good. So I'm going to go with this, I think, and rotate with fixtures a little bit. And obviously if Perisic starts at the weekend, I probably won't start Perisic for the midweek game week. And I'll start Rodrigo and Zaha, who've got better fixtures. So I'm going to play around with it a bit and see what I do with this. Rip it apart. I'm sure people in the chat are doing that already, right?
Very, very mixed reception in the chat.
Okay.
Trucky FPL, who I believe does our predictions, the new FPL pot noodle. Hi Trucky, he calls it a very tasty team. V Buckley says it's unbalanced. Stephen Hodson just says no. Okay, where can I start unpicking it? Well, I'll start at the back. 5 at the back is, I would say, pretty risky, given that we aren't seeing too many clean sheets.
Okay.
And especially double Chelsea defence.
But Chelsea have got the best fixtures of any big side, right? They've got great fixtures. And I do think within 2 game weeks, Fofana's in. So things will change. I've only just bought James, so I'm not going to get rid of him. And I don't have to play Cucurella every game because I've got the options on the bench. So if I think Cucurella's not going to play, or I think Chelsea could concede, I can just play James. So that's my answer to that one.
Okay.
Yep.
No Arsenal defender?
No. And I did think about potentially Cucurella to Zinchenko instead. So yeah, I'm still thinking on that. Yeah, I get that.
Walker, I know we've talked about him. He does not fill me with any kind of joy.
I know, but he is a boring pick back there. Every one of my defenders, apart from Walker, has got some attacking returns in him. But I just think I'll have him for now. But there are good options around there, and I've still got like 0. I think I've got 0-2 in the bank with it. No, I haven't. I haven't actually got nothing in the bank. But I will do the Tony to Mitrovic move in 3 or 4 game weeks, and that'll probably be the time where I use that money to do something different with the Walker slot. I think Walker will get me the next 3 or 4 game weeks because I don't think yet he's going to be displaced. And even if I do feel he's prone to rotation, I've got a bench where I can put him on the bench if I feel that. So I agree. Walker's only a kind of a short-term solution, I think. Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to really slam it because it's a lot of quite template picks. I mean, obviously you haven't got Cancelo and you haven't got Salah. Yeah. They're the 2 obvious ones. The 2 premiums you've gone with are very left field in De Bruyne and Kane. I mean, I barely see anyone with one of those 2, let alone both of them, and no Salah and Haaland. Is that mostly for ex-mins?
It's ex-mins. It's ex-mins for Kane. He's definitely got that. And as we said, like Kane will play 4, 5 and 6 and probably play 90 in all 3. Haaland will only play 170 minutes in those 3. So Haaland could still outscore Kane, but I don't think I can double on City. I don't think I want to have De Bruyne and Haaland and put everything in the City basket, particularly with the X-Men situation. I could change that when I see what Pep does with Haaland, because I still don't trust him. He says he's not going to play 3 games in a week, but I want to see it first. So,
well, that's
you know what I mean? It's like I'm going with it at the moment. I'm banking that he's going to be true to that, but I don't know yet.
Because it's. I mean, even after all I've seen today, even after all the XGI stuff I've seen on De Bruyne overperforming, even after Pep's comments, if you offered me a free swap in my team from De Bruyne to Haaland, I think I'd take it.
Would you?
I think I would. Yeah. I think Haaland is going to get more points than De Bruyne over, 6-7 weeks, and he's cheaper. So I personally, I mean, I should be here saying, "Oh, welcome to the De Bruyne club. It's really fun and great and everything." But I'm still.
But I will say, if I don't go De Bruyne, where do I go with my midfield heavy hitter? I go Salah, do I? So I do the thing that you were like, oh, don't go Salah.
You need a City. You need to.
Yeah, I need a City. So I could go Haaland up front, but then who do I go in midfield? Salah, which means I have to downgrade somewhere else. Right? I couldn't have Perisic probably, or I couldn't have. Well, I don't know what I'd have to lose. I mean, I could easily go Salah. I could do it, but my theory is. It's not a theory. Liverpool aren't playing well, are they? It's not even a theory. No one can argue that Liverpool aren't playing well. And it's whether I go back on everything and I go forward with a team that has Salah and Jesus and Haaland. Yeah. That is effectively the template. Do I wildcard to the template when you're 6 million in the world? Do I do that?
But do you worry about that when it's after game week 3? I guess that's
you can say no, but it would be kind of like... If I do think Salah's role will change when Darwin's in the team, and let's not forget, Darwin will be back in 2 game weeks' time. So number 1, Liverpool aren't playing well. Number 2, Darwin's back in 2 game weeks' time. I will probably consider Darwin when that happens after a few games. So I will get some Liverpool attack. But I think at the moment, I can probably risk going without it.
Because, I mean, what you could... I mean, your bench is ridiculous. Like, I've never, ever seen...
Yeah, but I'm not going to play Perisic every game, am I? There's no way I can, because he's not going to start.
You're going to find it hard not to. I think that is the dice you roll with Perisic. I can't imagine myself benching him unless Conte is clear in the fact that he's not going to start a game or he's got injured or something like that. I just think he's going to be too risky to be the player who you bench. So it's going to be tricky to know when to bring on, like Rodrigo and so. I mean,
it won't be. It won't, because if Perisic starts at Forest, he misses midweek. Surely he's not going to. I would have thought he's not going to start 2 games in 3 days. I think it's pretty signposted with Perisic. I don't think it's going to be hard to figure it out. We'll have to see. I'm speculating, but I would have thought if he starts 1 game, he'll miss the midweek game, and then obviously we have to see what happens in the Champions League, right? If Perisic plays in the Champions League, we're all in trouble because he's not going to play. He's not going to play Saturday if he plays midweek. Probably that's the problem.
I just find it strange that you're going into a period and looking at X-Mins of like Kane and De Bruyne and saying, okay, they're the heavy hitters I want because of these X-Mins, and then you're picking Perisic, who is so random.
Yeah, but with X-Mins on your heavy, you can't take gamble on X-Mins with your heavy hitter. That's my argument.
Well, yeah, I know. Okay.
Whereas Perisic, that's the reason I've got Rodrigo and Zaha. I can bring, and also if you look at the fixtures, I've looked at the fixtures for some of these teams. So, Arsenal go to City. Would I play Martinelli in that game, or would I play Zaha at home to whatever? I've looked at the rotation combination. So I've done the planning. I've looked at when I would vary it, and there's enough there for me to get something out of this. But I might not. Obviously, I've got transfers every week as well. Right? That's the other thing. It's like
you've got De Bruyne captain
this week, yeah. At the moment, although
because he's just not as good an option at Palace as Salah, is he? At Bournemouth?
No, he's not. No, I agree. But I don't. Ooh. Do I want Salah? Because that's the big thing here. Is I know it's only game week 3, but 6 million in the world.
Yes, in general. But
it's only yes if you're absolutely convinced Salah's going to go on producing. And if we go back, I'm not going to bring his data up again, but at the moment he's got a 25% conversion rate, which is almost double his regular his normal conversion rate is 11, 12, 13%. So he has, at the moment, he's outperforming what he normally would do. He's taken both his chances he's had, his good chances. And Liverpool playing poorly, he will still return against Bournemouth, I'm pretty sure. But Darwin is back after that, and I think that will change his... It's a gamble. I can't believe you're sitting there trying to talk me into go Salah.
I'm just presenting all of the... I think you need someone just to, be the voice of reason sometimes.
But I'm 6 million in the world, right? I can't go much lower. I can go lower, but
you can always go lower, Mark.
But I think I would be going against that. But my policy at the start of the season. If I go Jesus, Salah, and Haaland, which is what you're saying, where do I make up ground? It could, and no one's changed. I'm not changing that team once I have those three, am I? Because that's the point as well. I look at the managers who've got those players. They ain't changing unless Haaland's going to miss loads of games. Unless Haaland really is going to miss midweek games a lot or miss some league games. I don't think anyone's moving on Jesus, Salah and Haaland for a long time, right? So all of my captain options are going to be in parallel with all this most of the managers above me. So I can't get ground there unless I deliberately go the non-favourite captain every week, which I could do, I guess, right? So I could try and make up ground in that way.
I find it difficult because like I want you to play your own game and I want you to, go without Salah and go for Kane and all that stuff. And everything you say makes sense and stuff. It's just, if someone said to me, do I need Salah at home to Bournemouth?
Oh, yeah. But yeah,
I would say, well, yeah, of course you do. It's Salah at home to one of the worst teams in the league in a home match.
Yeah,
so
but you said yourself, you said about 10 minutes ago, you're not sure about Salah for captain, didn't you? Yeah, you did.
Well, I did. Yeah,
right,
I did.
okay. Okay.
I still want him. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the key thing for me would be, if I was wildcarding right now, I would have a way in 2 weeks' time to bring Darwin in. That would be my thing. So the fact you've got so much money on your bench, I guess is a good thing, because it means you can.
Well, Tony will either go to Darwin or Mitrovic soon, only I think. But I mean, Darwin's got to come back in. We've got to give him a couple of games if he starts. It's not going to be immediate. No one can jump back on Darwin, can they yet? So Salah could do a lot of damage to me in that time. But I think De Bruyne is playing well. I think De Bruyne has outscored him to this point. And let's face it, Salah has been a bit fortunate to get the points he's had to this point, given his performances, right? I don't think anyone can dispute that. And De Bruyne has already outscored him, even with that. And if Haaland's going to get as many goals as you think, is De Bruyne not going to pick up points? I think De Bruyne is okay.
De Bruyne is going to do well. Don't get me wrong. I just think
I think De Bruyne over Salah's all right.
One, yeah, no, I don't mind. I mean, but would you not go Jesus captain? You'd still keep
possibly. I've got it on Vice at the moment. I'm thinking about that as well. Yeah, there's a long time to go. It's Wednesday night. There's a long time to go, but I think I need to do something. I need to get on Rodrigo and Zaha as the bandwagons, because one or both could hold their form and be real bargains over the season. And if I don't get on them at the moment, I think it's a bit silly. You've got to take that gamble. I don't think Rodrigo's a long-term pick. Zaha could be. I think Zaha could be in the team for a while. Rodrigo probably unlikely, because he's going to regress massively, I think. So I think I have to do that. And then it's whether or not I have to get Jesus, because he's playing so well, right? Salah's not playing well, so I don't have to get Salah. It's just the Bournemouth fixture, of course. Are they going to win 6-0 and Salah gets a hat-trick? You wouldn't say it was likely, would you, based on what we've seen?
I'm very confident that he's going to get something fairly decent in that match. I guess that's the difference maker. John Shalley makes a good point about the wildcard in the chat that I hadn't seen, which is, we talked about the home games, and you presented that brilliant chart of home games and over the next 5 home games. We said, okay, 3 City and 3 Arsenal is a must. We've only got 2 of each.
Yeah,
so is that a concern?
So I could go Haaland over Kane and add the double City for the 5 home games in 7. But if Haaland's going to miss a couple of those, it doesn't.
I'd be tempted to move Perisic down to Zinchenko and move Zaha up to Gundogan.
Yeah, I've looked at Gundogan. Yeah, and I've got some stats on him, but I'm not going to show it now because it's getting late and we've nearly done 2 hours. But yeah, Gundogan is the player that I most want to get in at this point. And I've had him and then put him out. Had him, put him out. And I did look at that as well. So he's definitely almost on the next in line on the watch list if there's going to make a change. It's just the Salah thing, isn't it? It's
chat likes my suggestion of Perisic down and Gundogan.
Perisic down to what? To Zinchenko?
Perisic down to Zinchenko and Zaha up to Gundogan. That gets you the 2 extra Arsenal City players that we've said so much. But
I really fancy Zaha. That's the trouble. I really like him.
He's a good looking guy, so I don't blame him.
No, but you know what I mean. I do think he could. He only got 15 goals last season. I think he could be good value of where he is at the moment, because I think Palace have just got that little bit more attacking edge this season. So I think Zaha's not an easy player to lose in this wild card.
You'd rather have Gundogan over Zaha.
I would,
surely.
but is X-Min's an issue with Gundogan? Is he going to play European games? We don't know that yet.
He's
right?
the captain now.
Yeah, so is he going to play?
He'll miss the old game. I think he probably will. I think Bernardo Silva's not going to leave, is he? And he's going to take some minutes. I mean, Calvin Phillips. We haven't even mentioned him. I mean, surely he
we
plays
playing Europe,
a bit as well. Yeah.
No, Gundogan is, and I've done a table for him. I'm not going to bring it up. So he was very much in my thinking, and he was in until last night. He was in. So that's something I'm going to consider. But the Salah or the going Salah, Jesus, Haaland, I think it's so difficult to do, isn't it? Do you play a wild card at 6 million in the world and just jump on those three players? I mean, of course, if I want to just gradually work my way up the ranks, then yes, and not go down any further, then yes, I totally agree. But it shows, I don't know. It's against my kind of.
You're just in a really difficult position.
Oh, it is
because you couldn't easily move for Jesus, and I think you've basically wildcarded for Jesus.
Yeah, with
this team,
and the fact I think Son will probably miss a game, so I can't carry him either. So,
but it's just so frustrating. Like, having to wildcard for an 80% owned player is good because it's not showing stubbornness, but it's bloody annoying. So I do completely get it, but. Yeah.
If Salah was playing well, I don't think I could put an argument up. But Liverpool and Salah aren't playing well. So that's why I look at it and think, I think I could probably go without him. But because it's not just bringing Salah in low, it's then going Kane to Haaland and then having those three who are so massively owned. And people will say, well, that's the reason to have them. But not when you're 6 million in the world, it isn't. Is it?
No. That's Gameweek 3. I know. I think the tricky thing is it's definitely not a week I would like to wildcard because there's such a small player pool.
Thanks.
Born out by poor pricing and good fixtures for top teams. So it's not an easy week to wildcard because your team is just going to look the same as everyone else's, and it's hard to find these kind of different.
Well, but when's they going to? I mean, we've debated this on Twitter this week. When are people going to play their wildcard? There's people who can't even make a transfer this week. They're burning it.
I know. It is bad, and us poor content creators having to deal with and make content all week about this kind of stuff. It isn't easy.
That's the thing. It's like I think there's so many teams that look identical at the moment in terms of the heavy hitter distribution, the back five. It's hard. I looked at whether I should play the wild card now, but looking forward, I was going, when's going to be a worse situation than 6.2 million in the world? Without Jesus and with Son playing, who could miss a game in the next 2 or 3 games.
Well, Jesus could just bury you. I think in your position,
I had to do it.
I think you had to. Yeah, I think the thing that you kind of need to balance is then trying to force, kind of picks into the team just to be a bit different and to kind of differentiate your side. But I know it's not easy. It's a really
I'm not
one.
doing that. I'm putting Kane in for the X-Mins over Haaland. And I'm putting De Bruyne in because I think he can outscore Salah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is what I mean. I think that the key difference maker that you can get will come in a few weeks, and that's Darwin. So I would say if you're wildcarding now, have that plan in place of how you're going to get to Darwin, up from Tony probably, and that would be my kind of justification for doing something a bit different. That's what I think.
Tough, very tough.
Yep.
Very tough indeed. You did put a cheap wildcard together for me. I'm bringing this up now. So this is like flushing the money out the back, and you're able to get Salah, Kane, and Haaland then.
Yeah.
With that, do you want to talk for the team for the pod? I just remembered I didn't for the podcast go for my wildcards. I better do that. It's Sanchez, Perisic, Trent, James, Walker, Cucurella, De Bruyne, Martinelli, Jesus, Kane, and Tony, and on the bench Rodrigo, Zaha, Andreas, and Ward, my reserve keeper. That's the wildcard I've got at the moment. Probably will change. We won't talk about that anymore. We'll go on to this cheap wild card. And as you want to talk through that, it's got Sanchez in goal, Cucurella, Saliba, Perisic, Trippier. You want to take us from there?
Yeah, well, I'll just do the rest. Salah, Gundogan, Martinelli, Kane, Haaland, and Jesus. So the idea of this is to, if you're of the opinion that big at the back is dying off, and actually these players are conceding too many goals, not getting great attack returns, the XGI, a lot of these players, Cancelo isn't amazing. James at 0.3 and Chelsea aren't that great. Well, the idea is you take James down to Cucurella and save yourself $1 million. You get Saliba in, who's cheap and starting at 4.5. You have Perisic as your premium defender with the attacking potential, and you have Trippier. And going for all these players, with not costing any more than 5.5, lets you then get in these really good price players of Gundogan, Martinelli, and Jesus, and then you flock it with the 3 premiums of Salah, Kane, and Haaland. And I know people don't want to lose Trent and they don't want to lose James and all that, but that front 6, I think, is really, really powerful. And when you look at the back 4, with the Arsenal and Chelsea fixtures the way they are, Perisic with the attacking potential and Trippier just looking outstanding and Newcastle playing well, I think it is viable to consider.
Yeah, no, I really like
coming out of defence.
I was surprised at it. I mean, no Trent, that's the big thing, obviously. But you could stick Trent in and see what damage that does. So I'll look at it. It's interesting, actually. You put this together on FPL Team. This was predicted to get 55 points over over game week 4. My wildcard was predicted to get 57. But my original team was predicted to get 60. So there you go. But what does that mean? Yeah, what do those models mean? I don't know. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. And it's made me think, maybe I do need to get some more money out as well as Cancelo. Do I need to sell in Trent?
Because I think that is the route that you could go down if you do want to be a bit different on the wild card. And there isn't everyone has still got expensive defenders. They just have.
Yeah,
so that's the way.
Very
to
true.
Kind of
and I like the fact you've got Gundogan as Kane and Kane as 2 players that you can literally cheer for. I don't think you can cheer for Salah, Haaland, and Jesus and Martinelli. Everyone's got them. You can cheer if you like, but you ain't getting anywhere with those 4 because most managers have got them. Gundogan and Kane, they haven't, right? So when they score, when they return, that's generally going to be a rank boost for you, right? Yeah. You're only going to lose rank when Trent or City keep a clean sheet.
Which they definitely will.
Yeah. Or Trent gets a return. Yeah, so which they will. So you will. It's a trade-off. I like it, but I think obviously some matches you're not going to get starts from Perisic is the other factor as well. And then Haaland, you might not get starts from Haaland. So there are problems here. It depends on how the rotation goes. Does it matter though? Does Haaland still score in 20 minutes off the bench? Probably, given that defences are tired and stuff. So maybe it's not a bad thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's bring your team up. How are you looking for game week 4 as? Do you want to talk us through it?
Always upsetting when you see wildcard teams and things.
Your team looks great. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I don't think I'm in too bad a place. I mean, obviously I've got Ward in goal, who's the kind of the big problem. I've got Trent, Cancelo, James, Perisic, Zinchenko, Salah, De Bruyne, Mount, Martinelli, and Jesus, and then a bench of nobodies: Iverson, Andreas, Archer, and Greenwood. What I'm thinking of doing is doing Mount down to Gundogan and Ward up to Sanchez or Raya.
Like it.
When we talked about Raya, that would be for a hit.
Really like
it. But what's the point of having Ward? He's just gonna keep getting 1-pointers. Like Leicester are just awful, and I'm expecting him to concede 3 goals against Chelsea. So
and Raya at home to Everton. If Gordon doesn't turn up because he's moving and they don't start him,
I'm actually leaning towards. I'm leaning towards Raya, given the fixtures, because I'll be wildcarding, when that good fixture run ends. So I think what I'm going to do is do Iverson and Mount out to Raya and Gundogan, and then I think I've got a good team going forward.
Yeah, I like it. I like the Gundogan move as well, as I said. Definitely impressing. And yeah, no, I think you're set up well, but it's hard. It's going to be hard. I mean, to make up ground from 3 million. I mean, that's why if you do get rid of De Bruyne and you do get Haaland, you're moving closer to that template. It's a very difficult season for this, isn't it? I think it's going to be. It's one of those seasons where you've got to be really patient, and you will. Your rank will improve. You can jump like 1 million in one game week, right? But I think you're going to get to the 500,000 mark, and then it's going to be a slog.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was talking to Gianni earlier. He's 2 million as a video for Scout. He was 2 million in the world, and he played Neco Williams over Pereira. So it was a difference of 7 points, I think.
Yeah.
If he'd played Pereira, he'd have gone up 800,000 places. So there was just 7 points separating nearly 1 million places. So I completely agree. I think getting into the top 1 million, in theory, it should be achievable over a few weeks. But then pushing down into that top 100k is going to be really tough this season.
And unless something like Darwin comes in and breaks it up, Sterling does well and breaks it up, then or we get an injury, which we don't want, but that could shake it up as well. At the moment, I think it's going to be hard to. You could plateau at 500,000, then it'll be really up and down from there. Very, very difficult.
No one wants that today, plateauing around that rank.
Well, I did it. I plateaued at 200k, just couldn't get anywhere after that last season.
I've been there. It's not a fun way to play.
It's really frustrating. Yeah. Okay, we've done just over the 2 hours. Let's look at the BlackBox leagues to round it off. Norfolk and Chance, the classic FPL team name. James Allen.
Norfolk and I've just got that.
There we go. Have you not heard of that before?
I've heard of it so many times, but I've never heard it read aloud.
Oh my God. Seriously? Oh my. Not watched Columbo, not heard Norfolk and Chance. We're probably, now we've got to make this an 18 as well. He's top,
sponsor deals.
James Allen is top on 241. Stephen Brownlow, who was top last week, on 240. Right behind him, and then Daniel Eberhard on 237. Just another shout out as well for Natalie, who's still beating us us.
Yeah, obviously she's already beaten us this season. I've given up even trying to chase her.
Yeah, what an outstanding start to the season she's had. I don't know what to do now. I'm in a quandary. We've had our biggest audience of the season so far, of the whole series so far, since we've started BlackBox. That's what a wildcard does. That's what a suffering, struggling Mark does. It brings people to watch, doesn't it?
I'll tell you what we'll do, Mark.
What
we'll do?
I'll just keep getting worse. That's what happens.
We'll do a match of the day challenge.
That's what we'll
Saturday.
Do. Oh, wow.
Yeah, baby. Match of the day challenge.
See, that's another
Saturday.
reason. Do you want me to have Salah going in? Because that just makes that a complete non-event if I have Salah.
Absolutely not.
Exactly. There you go.
Absolutely not.
So,
if we log on to Match of the Day Challenge on Saturday and
I've got Salah captain.
3,500, no, we've got 3,500 concurrent views and you haven't got Salah, he's getting a hat-trick.
No, it could be they're there to watch De Bruyne get a hat-trick for me and celebrate with me. It could be that.
I'm sure you've got such a lovely audience who wouldn't at all like.
It's not just our audience. That's we all like watching agony, don't we? And yeah. So if I got Salah made in captain, the Match of the Day challenge would be a non-event so surely you don't want me to do that.
No, I don't want that. And you remember my WhatsApp messages to you all week have been saying not to get Salah.
Yeah, so why are you trying to talk me into it?
Because publicly, Mark, I've got to look like I'm, respectable. Right. We can't both be sitting and slagging off Salah, or people are going to stop listening.
For the sake of entertainment, given that I'm 6 million in the world, and I said at the start of the season, Forest they're going to do me over at some point this season. And arguably they already have, right? Because Johnson's already scored and I sold him. But arguably I should be captaining. When City play Forest at home, I should captain De Bruyne. But I don't think I can, or Haaland. I don't think I can. I don't think I can captain a player against my team. Things like that are going to get in the way of my season anyway. And I'm 6 million. In the name of entertainment, I should not get Salah just for that, really, shouldn't I? But I like De Bruyne.
You can't get. I ban you from Salah. You are banned.
All right. Well. We'll see what I do. There's going to be a lot of. I mean, I have been up to 2 or 3 in the morning already in the last few days, deliberating this wild card. I have had holiday, by the way. I've been off work, so I haven't done that. But I've got tomorrow off. I've got Friday off with the kids. How late am I going to stay up tonight playing with this wild card? I'm going to be a zombie, aren't I, for the next 2 days because I'm going to be on Spaces. People are going to be slacking me off on there. Oh, I can't do it I've just got to settle.
Members video with Andy as well.
Oh yeah, that on Friday. Yeah, and then Match of the Day challenge. It's going to be a rigorous few days for me.
Match of the Day challenge. That's going to be. At least you haven't got to see Son's hat-trick. You can wait till Sunday for that.
Oh, yeah. I'll only see it in person. That will be all right, won't it? That'll be it. I'll be watching my team getting destroyed by the player that I backed and then sold in the wildcard. That'll be like the biggest kick in the balls ever. If it goes from a Salah hat-trick and a Match of the Day challenge to the Sunday Son scores against Forest, where am I going to be come Monday? I'm going to be in the gutter, aren't I? And we'll have 4,000 watching next week then. All right, that's enough. It's a good night for me.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Good night and see you on Saturday for Match of the Day Challenge.